watching Outlaws with Rebecca Hargraves and Devon Stack.
Hey!
Hi.
We're back for another exciting
Show
episode.
Almost didn't happen.
I mean, it didn't happen.
No, I almost canceled the show this week.
Really?
I've got
You didn't
this
even tell
public
me.
speaking gig because I've been freaking out. I'm having nightmares every night about this event we're doing in New York.
Is that why I had to do all the work?
Yes.
For this
Hey,
one?
I did I am conversational in this, and that's like the best I could do.
That's all right.
This week has been a disaster. You're not afraid of public speaking at all?
You know, I was, but not really. You know, part of it is when you're a little Mormon kid, they do this thing called they have testimony meeting. It's the first Sunday of every month. It's actually great because it in a way it kind of makes your kids like it's almost like Toastmasters, because what it is the first Sunday of every month that you anyone who wants, it's almost like open mic church. Like anyone that wants to can just, I mean, not just for, like the whole time, but like sometimes it goes on for hours because of the amount of people that want to do this. You can just go up and it's literally open mic, and you just bear your testimony about why, Jesus is awesome or whatever. And because of this, kids feel kind of like pressured, because if one little precocious little boy or something goes up there and he's like, I love God and it's awesome, like every adult in the room is like, beside themselves with how cute it is. So you feel, as a kid, you're like, oh, I want to be the kid that all the adults like and think is cool. And it's kind of funny because it almost becomes, I don't think, like, no one ever wrote this down. Every Mormon in the audience will know exactly what I'm talking about, by the way. Every kid has like the same one. It's almost like because you've heard it by every other kid, and it's not written anywhere. And I don't know how it spread, but you always say, I'd like to bear my testimony. I know this church is true. I know my parents love me. And then like maybe you throw in like a couple things about God helps you win Mario Brothers last week or something. And then you go and, you start blushing and run back and sit down next to your parents. But like, I was doing that from like age like 5.
It makes me love Mormons because you're creating a positive association
right
with public speaking. I would rather be in a bathtub filled with spiders. Like, no joke. I actually would. I'm petrified. I've been waking up 2 nights in a row. I had a nightmare that Cameron was just yelling at me. Just screaming.
Like that's the whole nightmare.
Yeah, he's just yelling at me about how I suck and how I did everything wrong. And then I get on this stream.
Are you sure that maybe that was just a premonition?
Oh no, please don't. Please.
That was just your female premonition about what it's going to be like after the event. Immediately
the long
after.
and short of it is that I've just been preparing for this event, and my husband's been gone, and so I'm on full-time parenting duty, and I'm just overwhelmed. So I'm well versed in the topic, but did I contribute much to the outline? No.
Well, have you sold all of your? Are there any tickets left? Can anyone still go? Or
I don't know. We might be able to squeeze a few people in there, but if you want to try to come, it's Saturday in Manhattan, and you can email Constantine@multipolarpress.com and see if there are any tickets available. But I think we are pretty much sold out.
Wow.
Oh, I gotta throw up.
Well, I'll tell you, before you do that, how about, since we forgot to do it last week, we talk about our sponsor.
I know. We're dropping the ball. Everything's getting forgotten. We should never forget Antelope Hill. We're so grateful to them for sponsoring this show. Let me pull up this script. Thanks, Devon, for putting me on the spot.
No, that's what I'm here for.
There we go. Here we got it. Antelope Hill Publishing is the premier American publishing house for informed and principled political dissidents. They publish essential authors like Dr. Kevin McDonald, David Irving, Carrie Bolden, and Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, Josh Neal, and more. Their catalog includes original works on modern issues like the opioid crisis and the people and networks pushing transgenderism, as well as original historical sources from National Socialist Germany, Fascist Italy, Spain, Britain, Japan, and Hungary. Mini available in English for the first time exclusively through Antelope Hill. Their catalog also includes thrilling fiction novels and beautifully illustrated and wholesome kids books. They are releasing a new book, I think next week, and I'm going to be interviewing the author. So whatever your interest is, you are sure to find something you want at Antelope Hill Publishing. Check them out to support our friends and our favorite sponsor, not just because they're our only sponsor. Use the code Outlaws for 10% off your order. It really does help us, guys.
That's right. Antelope Hill. I was going to make a song and I didn't do it.
Lots of things are falling through the cracks.
Yeah, we'll just have to sing it. Antelope Hill. Antelope Hill. They're really cool, and for them I would kill. I don't know, something. All right. Anyway.
And now we get to talk about the most black pilling. Because Operation Wetback, it was a good start,
Well,
it had a strong beginning. It logistically was sound, and it was still a failure, but we'll talk about it.
But it also kind of points out why the floodgates will just never be shut. Now, it's a lot of people. Let's go to our other screen here. Pata! Look at that. There was no wipe to cut off our mics. A lot of people first heard about this when Donald Trump mentioned it. I don't think he mentioned it by name in one of the debates. This is back when everyone was like, "Oh, Trump's gonna build the fucking wall 10 feet taller now. Oh yeah." Oh yeah, you're gonna be deported, bitch. Like everyone believed it, and CNN was all in a tizzy, like, oh my god, it's Hitler 2.0. So this is him bringing it up.
CNN reality check on an immigration claim made last night in the debate. Donald Trump noted that one.
Remember the reality that anything Trump said, CNN would be like, CNN reality check. Let's analyze what Trump said. Would the wall really get 10 feet taller?
Great President Dwight Eisenhower deported illegal immigrants just as Trump would if he is elected.
Moved 1.5 million illegal immigrants out of this country. Moved them just beyond the border, they came back. Moved them again beyond the border, they came back. Didn't like it. Moved them way south, they never came back.
Eisenhower's policy was named Operation Wetback. It was implemented in 1954. It deported undocumented immigrants deep into Mexico. Now, many of them were brought to the United States through wartime programs, and their temporary contracts were not renewed. Now, the exact number of people deported is unclear, but one detail Trump left out: the transfer process was widely criticized as inhumane at the time, and later, some people were dropped off without resources in the desert. Some people died from heat stroke.
Oh, shucks.
Others drowned during transport in overloaded ships.
Oh, no. Anyway.
It was like
it sounds
5
awesome.
people or something. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing. Trump saying they didn't come back. No, they did, actually, because they're here now still.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about kind of why... like the history, I guess, of the dividing line between Mexico, the shitty brown country where the bad genetics, like those that Nick Fuentes has come from, versus north of the border, where the awesome white power genetics come from, and why that dividing line was defined, and how it has, unfortunately, not really ethnically divided the two peoples very effectively. So the first thing you got to understand is a lot of the states in the West were part of Mexico at one point. And
look at that yellow segment. Look at how much they ceded. It's just incredible that all of that used to belong to Mexico, and not that recently.
Yeah,
or not too long ago. 1848, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that long ago. Yeah, all of California, all of Nevada, all of Utah. In fact, the Mormons went to Utah because they were trying to leave the United States. And then right after they got there, the United States was like, yoink. And they're like, God damn it, we're in America again. And so which is kind of funny. But New Mexico, Arizona, all of that was Mexico. And after we went to war with Mexico over Texas, there was the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. So that was in response to the Mexican-American War that we obviously won. Like the awesome white people. I mean, come on, like we were going to lose against Mexico.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
how embarrassing would that be? We beat England, but we can't beat
Big
Mexico.
Mexico. So if you can't tell, I think it was $15 million, but it's California, Utah, almost all of Arizona, New Mexico, and then there's some of Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And you might think like, oh, we must have absorbed so many Mexicans. There was almost nobody there. It was just
Right.
desolate land.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it was fine.
Well, there was a lot of Hopis and Navajos and stuff like that, but yeah, as far as like actual humans, not a whole lot. And and so anyway, the after we got California, Nevada, Utah, most of Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma, the existing Mexican population was basically absorbed. We're talking like there was the Spanish missions, the El Camino Real, stuff like that. But very low populations.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had the Mexican Revolution that took place between 1910 and 1920. During that time, and also just generally around the turn of the century, we just had a lot of immigration generally. Like a lot of it obviously was coming from Eastern Europe. Something we talk about a lot, the Jewish and Eastern European Jews that flooded into the country around the turn of the century. And also a lot of Catholics, and we also had a lot of Mexicans come in around that time.
You just can't help yourself now, can you?
Well, that's just what happened. And
right before we went live, he was just dumping on Catholics.
I wasn't. When you start researching immigration, which I have a project that I'm working on where I've had to do a lot of research about how we got from back in the 1700s to today. There's just as many Catholic hands in that cookie jar as there are Jewish hands. Let me just put it that way. And the example I gave you is Reagan, which we'll talk about at the end here. But all the Mexicans that came into the country for that century, basically after after we took over the other half of the landmass because of Manifest Destiny, all the Mexicans that came across that were legalized by Reagan, he's a son of Catholic Irish Catholic immigrants. So
it's getting harder and harder to defend. I'm sorry.
There you go. Anyway, so we have the Mexican Revolution in 1910 to the 1920s. And so they had, of course, just like every time there's a war in a brown country, let's go to the white country. And so you had all these refugees. And the refugees started to pour into places like Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, California, a lot of them going into California. And a lot of them were doing farm labor and that sort of a thing. But this caused a problem when we had
the Great Depression. Yeah, right. Of course. I mean, this is somewhat reassuring because between 1930 and 1933, nearly a million, although the range is so wide, 300,000 to a million Mexicans, including a lot of U.S. citizens, they were repatriated or pressured to leave, but most of them were just pressured to leave, which means they realized that there were no economic opportunities and that there was going to be favoritism for white Americans. So I find that reassuring. I'm like, all right, in hard economic times, maybe the ethnos will rise and there will be preferential treatment for whites.
Well, the problem with that is, though, in modern times, is that'll work for illegals, right? Because illegals are basically transient anyway by nature, and so they don't really have the same roots. But after generations of this, which I mean, this has been going on now for like a century, it doesn't matter. We have all those people that have been here for like literally some of them like 100 years now, since their ancestors came here around 1900. And all the, of course, in the 1980s, all the ones that Reagan legalized, they're still, I mean, they're not gonna leave because the economy gets, where would they go? A
Right.
lot of their grandkids don't even speak Spanish, probably, right? So even if the economy goes to shit, they'll just be here.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to go to they're not going to go find Great Aunt Lupe in Guadalajara or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
So we had the Great Depression, which did drive some of them out. But then we had the bracero. I love this because he's just gassing them in the face. You see the photo? He's just, gonna gas the dirty Mexicans as they come across the border.
Well, they were legitimately bringing a lot of diseases.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
this,
yeah.
this is fine. It's
But
okay.
and the cool thing, so the Bracero program, unfortunately, what it was during World War II. Obviously, a lot of the white men that would be working on a farm were going and dying for Jews, and the South Pacific or somewhere in Europe. So they needed farm workers, and just like with a lot of things that the government does, where they're like, "Oh, this is a temporary thing. It's just a temporary thing for this immediate emergency that we have right now. It certainly won't stay around forever. It's just this temporary measure." So they created this program called the Bracero program, and that basically allowed for Mexican workers to come into the United States and basically do like what they called stoop labor, which we'll get into later. I've got a nice little video. So a lot of this, by the way, like you could maybe make the excuse during wartime that you had to have some kind of emergency measure in order to feed the troops who were out of the country, and obviously feed the people at home as a temporary measure. Okay, you could maybe say that. But what it turned into was a bunch of farmers getting used to basically paying people nothing to work on their farms and not wanting to actually pay people a living wage, which is literally no different than the tech companies that are trying to bring in Indians. That's every single time you have Americans demographically fucking us, it's always over money. It's always over money.
Of
And
course.
and people don't like to, for some reason, there's like this culture in America where we're supposed to act like farmers or like these, down to earth, salt of the earth types,
Salt of the earth. That's right. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, they're not though. They drive basically, I mean, I know some of these motherfuckers. They drive like $250,000 fucking pickup trucks, and wear, $500 felt hats, and pay some fucking Mexican who's illegal under the table $8 an hour, and to do shit that they don't, I mean, because they don't want to impact their own standard of living. And their excuse is always, well, everyone else is doing it. And that's the same excuse, by the way, that Silicon Valley will use. They'll say, well, if we don't do it, then China will develop AI, and there will be slaves to the Chinese AI, and so we need to bring in millions of fucking Indians. Like, it's the same fucking excuses every time. But anyway, at this point in the history, they at least had something of an excuse. I don't think it was necessary. I mean, we had women, with rivet guns, apparently putting together B-1 bombers or whatever. Like, why couldn't we have? Were there not teenagers or something that could go and like pick fucking avocados? Like,
Right. Also,
what's
there
the
must
problem?
have been fewer agricultural demands.
Right, with all the people overseas. So I don't know that it was a necessary thing, but at least you could make the argument that, well, we need to do it. Now, this became like I said, because everyone got so used to it. After the war was, or after the war was over, you still had the program continuing.
This headline's hilarious.
Oh yeah, wetback stampede. So this is obviously after World War II. A lot of farmers were just hiring illegals though, because when they tried to dial back the program, they wanted to keep working, and so the farmers were just like, yeah, who cares? Fuck my people. I'd rather just pay you nothing than pay some white guy enough money to where he'd want to work here. So sure. And so a lot of these Mexicans, this is when you had a lot of the organized crime kick in, or they started doing the human smuggling. And it got so bad that eventually the Attorney General, who was Herbert Brunel, describe it as the wetback problem. And so the wetback problem is discussed, and it's funny because, well, it's not funny so much as blackpilling. I'm going to have this article read. This article sounds exactly like the same immigration woes that we have, or really the discussions. I think we're past this now, but like this is the kind of discussions that you would hear in 2016 when everyone was still trying to talk about it in less existential threat terms, you know. But even if you listen to these numbers, think about the difference in population in 1953. But right here, you know, just even the headline, the number of illegals, that was their word. Wetback means illegal Mexican, if you have put that together. The number of wetbacks had doubled in 1 year. So here's the article talking about the Attorney General getting upset by this problem and discussing putting together some kind of program that would take care of it.
The stampede of illegal Mexican labor into California by foot, plane, and even casket has doubled last year's total, U.S. immigration officials report. A total of 406,507 wetbacks were returned to Mexico from the Los Angeles district for the fiscal year of 1953, according to Assistant Director Albert Del Guercio. This is more than twice the number, or 200,649, sent home in 1952. The wetback roundup has jumped in proportion in the San Francisco district, too. Bruce Barber, immigration director here, says that 26,808 wetbacks were located and returned to Mexico during the first 6 months of 1953. If the ratio keeps up, and it has for August, September, and October, it will double last year's. The problem developed in 1945 with the first influx of stoop laborers who legally contracted to come into the United States to fill a vital need for farm work. Since then, getting in the country has become a racket for many Mexicans who are interested in other work than agriculture. What's the status along the California-Mexican border? The barricades down there are about as effective as the Maginot Line, Barber says. Few actually deported. We have no comment, Del Guercio says. The problem of tightening up boundary defenses has been under consideration for years. It is getting the most serious thought at the moment from Attorney General Herbert Brownell. Few wetbacks actually are deported. Such action only follows a court order for removal of an undesirable alien. Of the 406,507 rounded up in the Los Angeles district, less than 10,000 were deported. The remainder signed a voluntary departure card, and many voluntarily returned to the States in less than 3 weeks. Del Guercio says that 9 immigration service officers have been killed in the past decade and numerous others injured. He recalls that 1 illegal alien was killed in the Los Angeles district while fighting arrest. Barber cites the transporter, or smuggler, as the toughest factor in the wetback's headache. Under federal law, it is a felony to transport aliens illegally in the United States. The sentence is 15 years and the fine $2,000 per alien transported. But in a queer twist to this law, farmers who employ wetbacks are not guilty of harboring aliens. Aliens cost $7 apiece. The United States arrests an average of 15 to 20 transporters per month, Barber says. and 1 week alone, 7 were picked up. Barber says it costs the United States taxpayers about $7 per head to transfer a wetback home, while Del Guercio says it is impossible to estimate the number of wetbacks located in his district or any other. A spokesman for the State Attorney General's office figures the annual influx into the states as a whole is about 3 million. According to this source, about 1 million illegal entrants are shipped out of the nation per year, while the Border Patrol estimates it is locating only about 1 out of 3 who come over. The amount of women wetbacks is less than 1%, Del Guercio says. Like Del Guercio,
Would that be a wetbacka?
Barber is not making any suggestions for tightening border defenses. All are looking to Brownell's office in Washington.
So it's this, it's the same fucking problem.
But there's some positive stuff in here. He says that most of those people self-deported within 3 weeks. Like if you
no. He said they came back in 3 weeks.
Oh,
He was making a joke. He said they signed the card to leave voluntarily, and then they voluntarily came back 3 weeks later.
Oh,
That's what he said.
never mind. I was like, oh, that's great. That's they can do it themselves.
No,
Okay.
no.
JK.
He said they all came back. They said that they're not the border fence or not fence. There is no fence, but the border control is basically non-existent. That they are only capturing maybe 1 out of 3. They are impossible to make them leave because you have to get a court order. If they're a troublesome alien or whatever from a judge, which they're not getting because it costs too much. The $7 doesn't sound like a lot now, but back in 1952, that was probably like $100. And so, it adds up when you've got 3 million of them.
Right.
And so, this was a big.
Wait, did he also say there were nearly
issue.
500,000 just in Los Angeles?
No, I think he was saying in California in their district, in his district, there was like 3 million.
Oh
Now-
my God.
Now think of this. This makes sense because even after all this, and even after they sort of tightened it up, when Reagan did do his amnesty, they basically made like it was close to 3 million became legal. And that's just who we know about because a lot of them, there was a lot of obviously trying to do that kind of paperwork with government workers and there's a lot of fraud and everything else that went on there. So there was a lot of people that kind of went through the cracks on that. But so this was like it was a big problem. I found this article. It's they're talking about like how they nabbed the wetbacks. And it's just kind of funny because honestly, the biggest reason I got it was like, look at this guy's face. Let me see. He looks. This is the sheriff. He's like, "Yup, I got them wetbacks."
He looks like Clint Eastwood. Good for that guy.
Yeah, so he's all excited.
He looks so happy.
Yeah, but they're talking about how the article. This article discusses how that they're trying to deal with the problem. They're always having to get them. This guy's all stoked because I think he got like 12 of them all at once.
Nice.
And then you had this, right, where you've got the same sort of a thing. This is, let's see here. Carter, chief of the Border Patrol, said Thursday more than 1 million wetbacks were caught last year. So again, if that's how many they're catching, how many they're not catching, it's that kind of a thing.
I mean, with technology improvements, we still have no idea how many are in this country. Imagine how easy it was back then.
Yeah, in the
Just slide
1950s.
under the radar, yeah.
Right. So we're caught after sneaking across the border, U.S. border with Mexico. The wetbacks, so named because they often swim or wade the Rio Grande, came to take farm and industry jobs. Usually they return to Mexico, but many remain in the country. Asked about the reports that 1 or 2 get away for every wetback caught, Carter replied, "Did you ever go quail hunting and try to guess how many you'd missed?" Yeah, but I mean, but he's right. It's like that's the problem. Is for every one he gets, there are probably about 2 or 3 that he's missing. So if he got like 1 million of them, that's So then he talks about how the total arrest, and just think of just the cost of the national focus that you're having to put on arresting 1 million fucking people. Like, that's not
Oh, yeah.
inconsequential. The amount of resources that have to go into that, the think of the law enforcement to police the ones that are in the country, because a lot of this, the catch and release stuff's not new. This has been going on a long time because, again, unless a judge orders them deported, and even if they are deported, either you have the resources to put them on a bus and take them back to the border, and what's the stop? I mean, they came here once illegally. Why would they not come back again? And they
Right.
often
Why wouldn't
did.
they? Yeah.
So and he said he estimated that 10,000 of those were of other nationalities than Mexican. So it was mostly Mexican. The figure also includes a number of repeaters. Some wetbacks have been caught and sent back as many as 7 times in a single day.
And where were they sending them back during this
They're just
particular period of
they're just taken back to the border at this
Well,
point.
yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course they come back.
And yes, they just walk right back across, and so it's kind of absurd. So this really obviously pissed off the people, because this was still when there was a little bit it was already being eroded thanks to World War II, because post World War II you had all the talk about, Hitler's bad because he thinks white people are good. So you had all this war propaganda. The Holocaust narrative hadn't really penetrated the public yet, though, and you still had a lot of racial coherence and maybe not identity, but definitely consciousness in white Americans in the 1950s. And so they definitely wanted to put a stop to this, because they understood that it wasn't just an economic problem. This was a racial problem. This was one of the things that made, you could look, there's a reason why the immigration's moving one way. There's a reason why white people aren't trying to sneak into Mexico by the millions. It's because Mexico fucking sucks. And so you don't want a bunch of people that created a shitty fucking country to come to your awesome country and make it shitty. And so, and that's how, and look, people understood it on those terms. They might not have always talked about it in those terms, because again, it had begun, this post-World War II thing where you couldn't talk. I mean, in the 1920s, they were just saying it. In the 1950s, they were kind of like, this is where it started to become like, oh, well, it's only safe if we start talking about it in economic terms.
Not only that, like during this period, I think this is when we crossed over into being a staunch capitalist society in such a way that it eclipsed the national racial consciousness. And that's why this was so problematic. I mean, the farmers were the real culprits on this one, because if it wasn't for cheap labor, then everyone would understand that this was racial, and they basically offered no benefit to the United States.
Well, and if they, like in that first article that I played, obviously, even in the article, they point out it's a little weird that you go to jail and have to pay a $2,000 fine per illegal that you're harboring, but unless you're a farmer, you don't. And if you're a farmer and you've got 50 of these guys, well, then you should be put in jail and you should have to pay $200,000.
I wonder how much we were exporting during this period. Let me look it up.
What in terms of agriculture?
Yeah.
I don't know. So that was a big problem that people were getting upset by. And so Eisenhower asked his cabinet to try to come up with some solutions. My favorite, the one that we should have gone with, was called Operation Cloudburst. Even has a cool name. Like Operation Wetback's cool, but Operation Cloudburst is pretty cool. Yeah. So Operation Cloudburst was something that the military cooked up, which is who should be cooking it up, by the way, because it's an invasion. And who better to solve the problem of an invasion? So they wanted to deploy about 2,000 troops along the U.S.-Mexican border. They wanted to erect 8-foot fences topped with razor wire in the high traffic areas. They wanted to give the Border Patrol agents jeeps, because they obviously they didn't have drones, but they didn't even have jeeps most of the time, or really a whole lot of equipment. They were really understaffed and underfunded. They wanted to not only have checkpoints at the border, but they wanted to have checkpoints like in the interior of the United States, not as a permanent feature necessarily, but if it was, I mean, maybe it should have been, because obviously this is one thing I've learned is that the demographic problem is not one that ever ceases. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people think, well, if we just do X, Y, and Z, then it will fix it. No, it's something that you always have to be working to defend.
It
Because
requires constant vigilance, because if you have a white homogenous country, it's going to be awesome
right?
without fail, and people are going to continue to try to penetrate the border. So
And the second you relax because you think that you fixed it or whatever, that's when the people are going to come in. And then you're going to be like, why are all these fucking Mexicans here? And then you're going to, And so they wanted to establish these checkpoints at interstates, and and they would stop people, which if you've ever driven around near the border, they kind of have some of those things. Like if I remember when I used to drive from Albuquerque to Las Cruces, they would randomly have like this, even though you're not leaving the country, they would randomly have this border patrol checkpoint on the side of the road that would pull you over, and if you had weed in the car, it would freak you out. In fact, I hated seeing that because you had to throw it out the window is what you had to do, because they might have a dog, you don't know.
yeah.
I was always mad. Anyway, so you have those
We
checkpoints.
should explain the show lore that you and I actually used to live near each other in Albuquerque.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I used to.
Crazy, right?
I used to enjoy the Northeast Heights, as it was called, the
Yeah, I
widest
lived
part of town.
I lived in Sandia Heights.
No, I was in Noreste Manor.
Oh, no. I was a kid, so I don't really remember that much.
It was a brand new house.
Flat roof, Adobe style.
No, one of those cookie cutter stucco ones, like
really?
with the tile roofs that you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
It was right by
but
you know where La Cueva was. It was right next to
Yeah.
La Cueva, basically.
Yep. Did you go to La Cueva?
I might have.
Oh, my brother went to the academy.
Yeah, that was we used to drive by it all the time. Did you ever see the Wyoming Walker?
I don't remember. I left when I was 8, so.
There was this old lady that used to walk along the academy, like the fence on Wyoming. And I mean, she's got to be dead now. She was like this. No, because this was like
She was old.
She was old
90s,
then,
yeah.
but everyone knew who she was because she dance walked for like 3 miles every morning, and so everyone just knew her as the Wyoming Walker. I'm someone should do a documentary on that crazy bitch.
Maybe she's still alive from all the cardiovascular.
No, because that was the other thing. She looked like she was like 80 when she was doing it.
Well, maybe she's 115 now.
Yeah, she'd have to be like so old by now. But anyway, so they wanted to also conduct raids on migrant camps. They wanted to conduct raids on the businesses that they suspected of hiring illegals. They wanted they basically wanted to use the military for all this, but Eisenhower was like, no, can't use that same thing. Yeah, what do they always say? It's the posse comitatus. You can't use the military on domestic issues, but it's not a domestic issue. Right. Like this is a foreign people.
Yeah.
Invading your country.
And that's how it was characterized in the media, and in government. There are people that said this is a foreign invasion. This is virtually a foreign invasion. So I fail to see why that would apply. Also, Eisenhower was under tremendous political pressure to do something about this, which is one of the reasons he orchestrated Operation Wetback. So he definitely should have authorized the use of federal troops. Everyone would have thought it was awesome.
Yeah, everyone would have thought it was based. And so they finally come up with Operation Wetback. And on June 9th, 1954, the Commissioner Joseph Swing publicly announced Operation Wetback. And I tried to find a transcript of his actual announcement. And the closest thing I could find was an article from the day that he announced it in one of the most probably interested party or areas. It was a paper from El Paso, the El Paso Herald. So let's have a listen to this announcement.
The government announced today a special roundup of wetbacks, accompanied by a request to Congress for stronger laws to combat illegal immigration. Attorney General Herbert Brownell Jr. announced a special program to apprehend and deport aliens illegally in this country from areas along the southern border. This, he said, could be undertaken starting June 17th by the new Commissioner of Immigration and Naturalization, Joseph M. Swing. In selected areas, Brownell said the campaign against the wetbacks would be started in selected areas, and his press relations office defined this as being Southern California and Arizona. The stepped-up campaign, it was said, will not start immediately in Texas. Brownell said, "This will not be a hit-and-run project. The Border Patrol in the area is being reinforced by 491 patrolmen from other areas of the country." At the same time, Brownell announced Congress would be asked to enact a new law to provide the government with much-needed weapons to assist in bringing to a halt the increasing illegal crossings of the border by wetbacks. Plan court injunction. Brownell's proposals would 1. Authorize a court injunction to restrain an employer from continuing to hire aliens illegally in the country when the employer has knowledge that the alien is an illegal entrant. 2. Authorize seizure and forfeiture of any vehicle or vessel used to transport aliens in violation of the immigration laws. Brownell emphasized that he was concerned with illegal Mexican migrants known as wetbacks, and not with legal Mexican nationals known as braceros. The illegal entries, Brownell said, have become a matter of great concern both for the state and federal authorities.
We'll talk about them.
We'll search areas. Apprehensions for violations of immigration laws along the Mexican border have been averaging approximately 75,000 a month, and the illegal infiltration of aliens has been steadily increasing. Under the program, selected areas will be searched for wetbacks, and those apprehended will be returned promptly to Mexico. All apprehended aliens will be fed and otherwise cared for by the Border Patrol while under detention and being transported back to the border.
Yeah. So, thank you, Tick. So that was, I just liked how he said wetbacks, so I used that voice. Wetbacks! So that's what they did. They actually, here's some footage, in fact, of them going around. Wetbacks! Hundreds of alien workers rounded up. It says voice. There's literally no voice here. I don't know why. But that's, and here's the thing, though. Because they weren't arresting the farmers that were hiring these fuckers, all they had to do was come back.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing's going to happen to you, all you have to do is come back. But, they did try, and they did get, what was the actual numbers on there? I thought I added it to our script. I don't think I did.
For the bus lift?
No, well, they did. Oh, wait, that's right. Yeah, so they did bus operation. Well, not operation, but part of the operation was bus lift. And that was in California and Arizona. Let's see here.
They used 28 Greyhound buses, and it was over 1,000 migrants. And then they transfer them like deep into Mexico this time.
Well, that was the thing. Well, here's the problem, though. I found an article when I was researching this because I heard that talking point that, in fact, that's what Trump even said, right? Oh, we'll take them to the border and they just come across. So then Eisenhower took them deep in, and they did. They took them something like, it was kind of crazy. They took them like 600 miles into Mexico, but then the Mexican government started shuttling them back to their home. So it worked kind of for like maybe a few weeks, but then the Mexican government started just shuttling them back because that was the initial problem was they would take when this operation first started, they would take them across the border and they would just the next day they would already be back because they're not arresting the actual people doing it. They're not arresting the farmers that are giving them jobs, so they would just go get their job again.
Right. And they would know exactly where to go. They didn't have to deal with any logistical issues. They would just be like, oh, I already have a job and a place.
Right.
Let's go right back there.
Right. And so that's what happened. So then they started doing sweeps, and this began later in June 17th. You had the sweeps phase, and this was agricultural heartlands in California, Central Valley, and Arizona. And INS coordinated with the local police. In some cases, received tips from growers or their representatives. Yeah, I believe that.
I believe that. They have they're incentivized to lie about it. So I don't know how even local police would help without being in communion with farmers. I mean, I'm sure they were hiding all of these people very effectively, or at least not reporting them.
Right. And so they did round up thousands and thousands of them. One sweep rounded up about 4,400, and they found that 64% were not even working for farmers. So 64% of them were just working for random companies. Again, anyone that, because there's a lot of manufacturing that would hire these guys, all those companies, every one of the owners of those companies should have been thrown in jail. Yeah. Every single one of them.
There's selection bias on that though, because they were being harbored by the farmers. So I'm sure it was a massive number that just weren't being touched.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is the farmers had a lot of political power, and there was another economy that would, because let's say if you're a farmer in a rural area and you've got 100 illegals living in some compound, because that's what happened. They had like these little shanty towns on their property that they would have the Mexicans living in. Well, the Mexicans have to eat. So guess what? The local businesses that sell food are selling food to the farmers' workers, and they're selling clothes, and they're selling supplies. And so there's a economic impact. So people are incentivized just to look the other way and let the illegal Mexicans stay there, because especially if they're politically connected business owners, because it affects their bottom line and they want more consumers. It's literally, it's all the same incentives that we have today. It's just, from 1950, it's slightly different, but it's almost identical.
Nonetheless, though, in Texas, 63,000 people were returned to Mexico on their own. Yeah, in one state. And in July 1954, another 42,000 were formally detained. So people were self-deporting.
Well, right. And I do wonder, though, how much that is government estimates. And I always feel like a lot of times, especially like with the Trump administration, where they talk about self-deportations, it's because their actual deportation numbers are so abysmal that they try to pump them up by estimate, because how would you know, right? There's no way to actually know how many people are actually self-deported. So I'm sure there's
I love the concept of self-deporting, because it empowers the individual to make the life of the immigrant so bad that they just want to leave the country. And I feel like that should put a little steam in all of us. Like, you can do it. You can make an immigrant's day shitty. You as a person at home, you can do that.
Well,
so I hope that's true.
Well, you could just make it. You could literally just make it legal to kill illegal immigrants, and they would all go home. No, seriously.
Yep, you probably only have to kill 10 of them.
Yeah, as soon as they found out, first of all, like the first day, you'd have like guys with like Confederate flags in the back of their pickup truck, like just cruising through Mexican neighborhoods looking for them, right? and after they popped off a couple Pablos, that would be it. Yeah, the word would get out, and no more fucking. Ándale, ándale. El gringo. And then it would be over.
Yeah.
But and so I found some articles talking about, you know, there's a Mexican jumping out of a fucking second story window to escape INS. And then I found this article where there was some positive outcomes. So this is the thing is, you know, before the farmers started bitching about everything, there were some measurable positive outcomes where they were talking about how the people trying to apply for welfare, the numbers are going significantly down, because if you don't have illegals doing all the work, and the work still needs to get done, eventually, I mean, this is basic economics. If you raise the price enough, eventually people will come and do the work. It doesn't matter that it's shitty. And look, if the crop is too expensive to grow, then you grow something else. You like, or you raise the price, because there's no way that like no one's going to want oranges. You know,
right?
They might not like how expensive they are, and they might not buy as many, and you might not might not make as much profit. But there's the people, if it's worth growing oranges, then you can grow oranges. If it's not worth it, then grow something else.
In the 50s, I don't know why we had an economy that was so heavily based on agricultural exports. I just looked this up. We exported in 53 billions in farm goods, with Western Europe, Japan, and South America as the primary billions in farm goods, primary market. Now, during the war effort, I understand, because we were trying to feed the troops overseas. But in 1953, we should have seen that this was destroying the demographics of the country, and rearranged our export system. There really is no reason for us to be exporting agriculture at this level.
Right. And look, you could say that maybe at post World War II, because they were rebuilding Europe and whatnot, but we're talking like, how long did that take? You know, like a decade, really? They don't have their shit together in Europe a decade later. I doubt that. You know, like they're able to produce their own food. And so, yeah, you had globalization. And really what it came down to is it wasn't just the farmers who were being greedy. You're talking now about globalist, financial institutions that are getting rich off of the exporting of goods, you know, and the merchant class making a ton of money by buying a bunch of fucking oranges and shipping them off to God knows where, right? So this was kind of a even though it was a success, you know, September through October 1954, you had raids extending into interior cities and agricultural areas farther north, so not just going after the border states. And then basically, this was kind of funny. I found this article. Here, what this article is about is this just underscores why we don't want them here. He was saying, and look, you've heard the same fucking excuse from people that are pro-immigration today. He said one of these wetbacks said that he wasn't afraid of being deported. He was afraid of being murdered when he went back to Mexico. That Mexico is such a shitty fucking country that if they sent him back, that he would get murdered. Like that was literally what he was saying. And so it's like, well, why would we want people from the murder place to be here? Like, I don't want people from the murder place to be here.
Yeah, I was doing research on this before we did the show and listening to documentaries about it. All of them were critical, you know, because I wanted to kind of steel man the position. But I heard one person say, like, well, they would deport the parents, and sometimes their naturalized kid would have to go back to Mexico, and they wouldn't even speak Spanish. And I was like, how is that my problem if two Spanish-speaking parents don't teach their kids Spanish, and then they have to go to their nation of origin? Like, none of this is my problem. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with anybody but white people at this point. I just can't do it. Like, where's this well of empathy coming from people? Isn't it limited in most people? Like, people just have an endless well of empathy to care about all of these people that are not benefiting your country. I genuinely don't understand it.
Well, I think a lot of it's bullshit. Especially a lot of this comes from interested parties. You know, whether you're talking about racial or religious groups that want Mexicans here, they're not really. I mean, they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to find an angle. they're trying to find something that's going to make people get emotional about the issue. But I mean, if you were to change some of the variables in that equation to like say sending white people back to Europe, and I don't even speak German, no one would, if you said that the Native Americans somehow were going to get the German white people to go back to Germany, those people wouldn't give a shit about that. They'd be like, oh, you better start learning German.
Yeah.
But here's the problem is most of the articles I found were this: farmers complain wetback operation is ruining them. It's going to make them go out of business. They can't afford to, run their farms because the only possible way you can grow oranges is if Mexican hands are picking them from the trees. And that's quite literally what they were saying. And even then, it's funny because I'm reading these articles and I'm just fuming. And then later I find a actual, propaganda film that was produced by the Growers Association in response to this, because that's what everyone was saying in the 1950s too. Everyone in the 1950s was like, well, we know what you're doing. You're just not paying people enough. And so you're getting slave labor so you can make more fucking money. So they literally put out this film to address exactly that. And talk about stoop labor, because most of what the Mexicans were doing is something that they classified as stoop labor, which they'll talk about in a second. But I thought we're going to watch a couple of clips from this documentary here. So this was literally put out by the Growers Association in order to address the complaints of smart white people that were like, you greedy fucks. America, and you gotta love how they open it too. It's just like all this patriotic, heartwarming, progressive music. Da da da, America. Look at the crops, making us wealthy and healthy and wonderful. America.
Farming is America's biggest industry. While most major American industries have made great advances in productivity, agriculture has outpaced them all. One of the reasons has been intense mechanization. Progress in mechanization has been impressive. However, some crops must still be harvested by hand.
By Mexicans. See, so they open up addressing that too, because that was another argument. Even in the 1950s, people were saying another thing that you're doing is you're suppressing innovation. Because if this problem that you're talking about does exist, where no one's going to do it, and you still must grow whatever this crop is for some reason, even though apparently it's so important, yet you can't get the money to get anyone to grow it or to work the fields, then inevitably you're going to have some kind of mechanical solution to that problem. Because people, if it's so important, like you're saying it is, like the whole world's going to explode unless we have cabbage, then we're going to have some kind of fucking machine that gets the cabbage out of the ground, so that we can have cabbage, and that's how we got all these other machines. Right. And so he talks about that's how they open up. Like, oh yeah, well, we're like the most innovative industry out there, but there's just a few things we haven't figured out yet. And that's why we need Mexicans. And so he talks about stoop labor being that category.
Because citrus trees are thorny, more difficult to pick than other fruits, most farm workers avoid this kind of job. All such farm jobs which are tough, dirty, or unpleasant are generally referred to as stoop labor. Understandably, then, this is the only area in which the American farm labor supply falls short and is supplemented by Mexican citizens, sometimes called nationals or Mexican nationals. But the term most commonly used is braceros.
Or wetback. So stoop labor is the category of shit. It's shit work that no one wants to fucking do. And it's like, again, all right, but if that's the case, then you charge that you pay more. I mean, you
Yeah.
charge more for the product and you pay more to get it until
Or you let that part of the market collapse.
right. Or you don't grow fucking whatever this is that obviously we don't need. And if we did need it so bad, someone's going to do it.
Did he mention
Right.
what kind of crops they were?
He mentions citrus specifically. I don't know why citrus, because there's thorns on some citrus trees, like on lemon trees.
Do we really need anything but lemons? I mean, come on.
I mean, that's the thing is like it was citrus specifically, and then they're I don't know, like they show foot. I can't tell what this is, whatever this is. It's hard to tell with the black and
Dude,
white.
if I had to give up oranges and there were no Mexicans, I would make
Right.
that deal in a split second.
Oh no, no
Not that much of a
lemons.
lot. What are we gonna do?
Oh fuck me. But here's the funny thing though too. It's the same. It is this. That's the arguments that you hear from like in England, right? Where like, well, if we got rid of all these fucking Arabs, then we wouldn't have kebabs. And it's
Oh.
like, so what? Like, are you fucking kidding me? But yeah, that's literally the excuse. So then they go on to address, like I said, directly, exactly what we're saying.
It so happens that the braceros form a tiny fraction of the total labor force used on our farms. Yet some Americans feel even this tiny fraction should not be used. A typical dialogue pinpoints the major issues.
Well, with Americans on relief rolls, why bring in foreigners to work on our farms? Makes no sense.
Makes sense to the farmer, though. These braceros work for lower pay than Americans would.
But doesn't the farmer realize he's cutting down American labor, cutting down our living standards?
Why doesn't somebody do something about it?
In short, the big question in many minds is why braceros?
So they I like how they don't answer the question right
No,
after
yeah.
they set it up. And by the way,
Here's a really good argument that we're just not going to address. We're just going to mention it and then we're going to move on.
well, right, and well, no, they attempt to that. So this documentary is actually like 20 minutes long. And when I watched all 20 minutes of it, expecting them to at least come up with some kind of argument. The argument, by the way, see again, presented as a public service by the Council of California Growers. Yeah, a nice public service you guys did there. It amounted to, it's hard. It's hard. Like, I'm not kidding you. They just show the process that the farmers have to go through to find people, and then they say, and then no one wants to do the job. So then we have no choice than to go to the Mexican guy, because the process they do it, because obviously when you have a harvest, right? That's not a job that you're going to pay someone full time with benefits year round, because it's like you do it all at once and then you're once a year, like that's it. And so the way that they have a system basically where if you want to go work at during a harvest season, you want to work at a farm, you sign up for one of these agencies. Or the government also has like a tied to like the unemployment office. They also have like some kind of roles, and you sign up for I'll go pick grapes or whatever. And so when the farmer wants to do it, he goes to this agency and he's like, I need 200 fucking people to go pick grapes on these days these days, and you have to do it. You have to schedule in advance. So which is fine because when you're going to harvest, or at least roughly. And so he signs up for it, and then the agency fills up that gap. And the argument was that they would go in there to these agencies, and no one would want to do the shitty labor that we were paying nothing for. And so we had to go to the Mexicans that'll do it. And it's like, okay, but you didn't answer the question. Had you gone to those agencies with a higher wage for that job, you would have had people. I mean, just because you have to do this through an agency doesn't change at all the questions or the concerns that you put in, front loaded this documentary with, like where they said that you're not paying enough. Not once Do they address how they figure out what they're going to pay, how they calculate the pay? Nothing. They're
what
just
their
like,
profit margins are.
right. They don't talk about that literally at all. They're just like, we go to this agency. It's like, we don't care about the minutia about how you find these fucking people. No part of the argument about what you're doing wrong here has to do with like how you hire them. We're talking about how much you're paying them, because if, it doesn't matter. I guess I didn't know that's how you got, and I didn't know that's how you got farm workers, but who fucking cares? Like if you put on that whatever bulletin board that they put it on to get people to come work there, you add a 0 or something like that, people are going to fucking show up. So anyway, they then talk about the process where they go to a representative of the Mexican government who, because their economy sucks because it's full of brown people, they will come and do it. And the actual, the federal government actually arranges for it. And then this was hilarious. So then this is another one of the same things that you hear about the Mexican immigration problem in the United States today is, well, not only are they coming here and they're depressing wages and they're driving up housing prices and they're committing crime and all this other stuff, but also they're sending money out of our economy back home to Mexico. So you're actually having money bleeding out of the white people country and into the brown. It's basically a wealth transfer of our generational wealth to a foreign country. And so this was a concern back then too. And the answer to this is so fucking hilarious.
And what of the money earned by the braceros? Is it all, as some people claim, drained out of this country? Hardly. Look at the braceros when they come here.
Just look at them. Look at them, those dirty Mexicans.
It is obvious they need a great many things, like clothes, for instance. Where do they spend their money? As a local merchant put it,
this motherfucker doesn't even have shoes.
Those guys look pretty good to me. They look fine. What is he talking about?
The argument literally is they don't have shoes. They're going to buy shoes. They're going to buy shoes in America. Is that money going back to Mexico? No. So what are you complaining about? Pablo here bought his first pair of shoes at Payless. And so the money stays in America. Yeah. Like that's literally what he's saying. Like they make it sound like the Mexicans show up, they earn their money here and they spend it all here on shoes. And then they go back to Mexico. So that was the answer to that one, which I was just like, oh, really? That's okay. All right, I guess.
The best you got?
Yeah, and then they have this fucking like borderline retarded guy talk about. He kind of says the quiet part out loud a little bit on accident.
The stoop labor situation being what it is, I don't see how the local farmers can get along without braceros. Without this source of labor, many farmers are going to be unable to make a profit.
Oh, oh, well, yeah. Don't you mean as much? Because again, as much of a profit, sure. Now, the argument that they try to inject here too is they try to act as if, America's not the only place oranges come from. And so if the Americans aren't making the oranges, then they'll start getting communist oranges. They'll get oranges from Cuba or something like that. And it's like, no, that's what tariffs are for. If let's say that really happened, right? Let's say you start paying white people enough money to actually go and pick your oranges. And now oranges go up from, $1 a piece to $2 a piece. You double the fuck. Oh no. Oh fuck. Oranges are $2. What are we going to do? So, then apparently, according to these guys, the communists are going to come in with their oranges and sell them for $1.50. It's like, that's what the federal government's for. All you have to do is say, all right, for every communist orange that comes in, we tack on a tariff of 50 to 75 cents or whatever, and make them more expensive. So people can still get them if they want, but it won't be, they won't be undercutting our people. And that's an easy way to deal with that problem.
Well, make the pay high enough and you'll pull in all the domestic labor you need.
The fact is, that farm wages have gone up steadily for many years, but we still don't have enough seasonal domestic labor willing to do this kind of work.
Because it didn't go up enough.
I know. And I reject this premise that this is too dirty of a job. I mean, people came back from World War II and they resumed their jobs as garbage men, like terrible, actually disgusting jobs. And they were getting their limbs blown off in war, seeing the horrors of war. And they're going to come back and be like, well, I don't want to get my
There's
hand pricked by
thorns
the
on that
sword.
tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Ew.
preposterous. It's just that they wanted to reduce the wages so much that they were making massive profit margins, far more than any other farmers in the United States.
Right. That's 100% what it was.
Conclusion. Unless we have braceros to fill the gap, many stoop labor crops will be forced out of American agriculture.
Who cares?
Coming from the commies. The commies will bring them in. Now, that was literally the argument. And then they go on to say, and here, this is the other, they tried to make it sound like there'd be some horrible, like, catastrophe ripple effect that would tank the entire economy if we didn't have oranges. Like, because, well, you know, it's not just oranges, because did you know there's people that make orange juice? Well, what about the guy at the orange juice factory? Because if all of a sudden there's no oranges, there's no orange juice. And so your mom that works at the orange juice factory, she'll just be on the street now because you hate Mexicans. Maybe you shouldn't have been such a racist. Then your Aunt Sally would still be able to work at the orange juice cannery. Like that's basically what they do. And again, they never address like that. Well, come on, you keep saying, wages have gone up, but so have prices. So like you didn't say by how much. You're not comparing them to anything else. You're just saying they've gone up. Up from what? Was it like $1 a day before? Now it's $1.50? Because that's up. Like what exactly is up? So there's zero actual argument in this entire fucking thing. But then they're all, and in conclusion, that's why we need Mexicans.
In Spanish, braceros means a man who works with arms and hands. But in American lingo, they are called lifesavers. And they are, not only to the farmer, but to the housewife, the grocer, the transporter, the canner and processor, and to all of the other industries whose output and very existence are so closely interlocked and dependent on the continued supply of such crops.
Come on, they aren't saving lives. We aren't like 18th century sailors that are dying of scurvy. We need citrus fruit immediately. They're not saving lives here. I think that this was transparent even by the standards of the day.
Yeah, that's how it ended. Literally, that's how it ends. It was like, in Mexico, it means they work with their hands. In America, we call them godlike heroes of humanity.
Yeah, really.
It's like, because they pick oranges.
Yeah.
They're
doing God's work.
Your mom at the grocery store should be fucking licking their balls every time she gets a can of orange juice. It's just like, what the fuck? But that was the propaganda film that I found when I was looking for this stuff. But the funny thing is,
that was a good find, Devon. That was good.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this is always why we've had this kind of immigration, and it hasn't. I mean, like I said, with Elon, it's the same thing, and they always get so fucking mad.
Just like Indians and tech.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Yeah,
and it's funny because they know on some level they know what the fuck they're doing. That's why Elon got so fucking mad when he started getting called out on X and banned it, like all those fucking people after saying "fuck you" in the face or whatever when they were talking about the Indians, because he knows what he's doing. He knows that like that's not impossible to get white people programmers, that you don't have to go halfway around the world to get fucking people to write bad code. Like, he knows this. Everyone fucking knows this. And you know what? Guess what? Maybe you'd have more white people able to do this stuff if you hadn't been disenfranchising them from the educational institutions for fucking 40 years. Ever think about that, assholes? Yeah. If you hadn't like turned every educational institution into some babysitting facility for fucking niggers and spics, maybe this wouldn't be a problem. Maybe this wouldn't be a fucking problem, huh? And so because they all fucking get this on some level, they get really fucking angry. I have a story about this personally. This is a couple years ago. I went out. I was going a little crazy because I live out here in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I drove out to like some random bar in like fucking Nowhereville, and there was a cattle rancher that was at this bar, and usually because I was kind of new in town, it was like kind of close to around when I first came out here. In fact, this is before COVID, and I was still like in hide my power level mode because there's not a lot of people out here, and I don't want them to be like, well, that's where the racist lives, honey, and stuff like that. And so I was just kind of like, trying to keep it, but I think I'd had a couple beers, and so I was feeling a little less, in power mode, hiding mode. And this guy was talking about Trump and how he liked Trump and all this other stuff.
What year was this?
This would have been, it's probably about 4 or 5 years ago. So this would have been maybe right before COVID, while Trump was president still. And so I'm talking to this guy, and he talks, or he has this cattle ranch, and he starts talking about, even though after he just finished talking about how he loved Trump and he wants to deport people, whatever, he starts talking about how he hires illegals to work at his fucking ranch. And I was like, and I got mad at him, and I started telling him like about basically about demographics and about about race and IQ and stuff like that. And he got really mad at me, and because he tried to tell me that like, oh no, we're all the same. That's racist shit. And I said, are cows all the same? And he got really quiet. And I was like, oh yeah. So there's different breeds of cows then, huh? Where there's some cows that are better for milking, and then there's some cows that are better for butchering, right? It's not just one cow, right? The industry doesn't just have like one kind of cow. Like, you spend a lot of money on fucking bull semen, don't you? And he got real fucking quiet. I was like, oh, that's weird, huh? So like that only exists, breeding only exists with like cows. Like that doesn't extend out to like the rest of the animal kingdom, you fuck. And almost got in a fight. And that was kind of fun.
It's crazy that there is a bar, that there is some guy out there who got to sit next to drunk Devon Stack in a rural bar.
Yelling about bull semen.
Yes, yelling about this man has no idea what his luck is.
Oh, he was such a prick too. And the crazy thing is, he was an immigrant. He was white, but he was the son of immigrants. His family was they were rich Dutch people that bought up his parents, apparently at some point, because this is before it got ugly. He told me this part. His parents came out here, I don't know, like 50 years ago or something like that, and bought up a bunch of cheap land and started up dairy stuff because they were, because they're Dutch and they have the little wooden shoes and the windmills and, cheese or what, I don't know. But
half the farm was just tulips, yeah.
Right, but that was the annoying thing, is we got this fucking. So he doesn't care, right? He doesn't give a fuck on a couple levels. He doesn't care because he's making money off of these, having to pay these people next to nothing. He doesn't have to worry if they get injured. Like there's no workers' comp or whatever the fuck you have to deal with all that stuff. And so he's just and he has no genetic connection to the land itself, as far as he's concerned, this is just a financial playground. So it's not just certain groups that do this. And that's the unfortunate reality, is a lot of people they just don't give a fuck about race. A lot of white people, people wonder, how did the white elite let this happen? It's because most people care more about money than race.
That is the point of the whole stream, right? And until we abolish this kind of insane capitalism, I'm not really sure that people will stop doing this. I mean, people are primarily self-interested.
Right.
Cameron and I argue about this all the time. It's like he thinks that the ethnos is just going to arise in the people. But look at this Dutch guy. Right. I mean, yeah, and it is because he has no connection to the land. He should. I mean, he's defective as an individual. he should have enough of an ethnic hierarchy in his mind that he connects with other white people more generally. But did he? No.
Well, right. And here's the other thing. I'm sorry. This guy seemed like he was at least of average white IQ. And you're trying to tell me that a bunch of illegals working on a fucking dairy farm make great conversation with this guy. Like he can't tell the difference in intelligence when he's dealing with these fucking people. No, it's precisely because he can tell the difference in intelligence that he knows that he can rip them off. Like that's literally what's going on here. And the funny thing is, another thing that illustrates this, I found a clip of Cesar Chavez, the Mexican fucking folk hero, back in 1974, complaining about illegal immigrants and calling them wetbacks. Because this further underscores this is not just a white phenomenon where people care more about money than they care about their race. He cared more about the Mexicans in America because they weren't getting as much money because illegal immigrants were coming, wetbacks as he calls them, as you'll soon hear, were coming to America and not only depressing the wages because he was trying to unionize farm workers that were here legally. And I'm sure some of them that weren't, but that was his whole thing was he was trying to create unions, and most of the farm workers were, because of birthright citizenship, were Mexicans, or because of this is before Reagan, I guess, did his amnesty. But this is, by 1974, there's a bunch of Mexicans working farm jobs legally in the United States. And Cesar Chavez is trying to unionize them, and he's mad because they're suppressing wages. And when he does a strike, all the farmer does is he brings in a literal busload of illegal immigrants. And the illegal immigrants, when they see the Mexicans in America striking, they don't think to themselves, oh, I shouldn't bust up this strike by working for this farmer because those are my people, and La Raza or anything like that. No, he was like, no, fuck it. I'm going to go and work for Farmer Bill for next to nothing because me as the illegal Mexican, I just care about money. And so the Mexicans that were picketing just cared about money because they resented the Mexicans that were from south the border. And the Mexicans from south the border only cared about money because they didn't give a fuck about the situation that the other Mexicans were in. So I just thought this clip was interesting. Oh, the mestizo music.
This question of the illegals I find very interesting. Would you say that it's, at this particular moment, as important as any of the other problems facing the union?
Oh, yes. In the last 2 weeks, it has become an emergency for us. Well, there's an awful lot of illegals coming in. By the hundred, by the thousands, our people are not only in some of the crews where there's now strike breaking, some of those crews are 100% illegals. Outright, openly, with no attempt to disguise it. And so it's so bad now that we estimate 60 to 70% of the farm workers in California, of the resident worker, of the citizen, is out of a job because of the wetbacks. They're coming in by the thousands, just unbelievable. See, they're coming in with the consent of the Immigration Service, which is part of the Department of Justice. How else could they come? We, for instance, know that if you go to Coachella, you go to around the El Paso area, the secondary immigration checkpoints have been unmanned now for at least 3-4 weeks. They're closed. They're at night. They're dark. There aren't any patrolmen there. It's a gimmick. We think that it's a prelude at the beginning to a big drive on the part of the administration and the Mexican government to bring the Bracero program again. It's a vicious attack on the local worker, and it's just one of those things that agribusiness thinks they can get away with it. And our job is to inform the whole country what's happening together with a boycott and solve it that way. And so the workers themselves, even though a lot of them are Mexican descendancy themselves, are very uptight and very, very worried and very mad about the illegals coming to break their strikes, and it takes away their jobs, their livelihood, and so forth.
So it just goes to show that like what people at the end of the day care about more than race, unfortunately, is money.
It's money. Yeah.
So if you want to know the Jewish superpowers, it's they have a racial centric religion, a race centric religion rather, and they control the money. So that's all you need. That's literally all you need, and you get everything you want. Because if you control money and you have a religion that prioritizes your racial interests, you're done. Like that's it.
That's true. That is the silver lining. I know I sound like I'm just repeating myself. That is the silver lining of economic collapse, because we will no longer have the luxury of relying on our economic status. So I think that in that way there will be a racial consciousness that emerges in a meaningful way.
I don't know.
It happened in the Depression.
I don't. So here's what I'm thinking. Honestly, I think that because look, we want homogeneous societies, not just because they are because they're safer, they have less crime, because it's socially better, but because all of the things that actually make a country successful are augmented if that population is homogeneous. And we are coming into an era now where all of these formerly third world countries and economies like China and like India don't have the diversity problems that we do. And so while we were so far ahead of the rest of the world during like the 1950s and 60s, and so if we took our eye off the ball for a few decades so we could deal with the nigger problem and all this other shit that was going on, like, yeah, it was bad, and yeah, it set us back decades, and yeah, it was, we'll never understand what America would have looked like had we just sent all the slaves back to Liberia and never opened up the fucking floodgates to immigration around the turn of the century specifically. But at least we had so much momentum and so much of a head start that put us technologically and economically and just in really every metric you could measure between the United States and, say, China in 1950. I mean, China in 1950 was quite literally like just a gigantic third world country. And now that's not the case. Now they are doing, I mean, look, people got impressed by Elon's SpaceX rockets that could come back and land after they reached low Earth orbit and, deployed, some second stage rocket or whatever. China has already duplicated that, because while they might not innovate as quickly as we do, they're really good at replicating. And so because of their inability to innovate at the same speed, will they just, run right over us? Probably not, but that diversity problem is a bitch, and it's going to create yes, we will be at the basically at the mercy, I think, of these more homogeneous societies, but I don't think that's going to translate into, and then all of a sudden the white people kick everyone out. I think that's more of a possibility in, say, European countries, right, that where this isn't something like that's really in researching this on this project I'm working on, which you guys will know about hopefully in a couple of weeks at most. One of the things that struck me was I feel like that the context that a lot of people will say things like, well, if it wasn't for the Immigration Act of 1965, everything would be fucking great. No, this has been a constant assault on the white demographic on the United States, going back to maybe not quite the founding, but shortly after. There has been just a constant assault, and the numbers are so fucking bad. And the people that have come in here now have been here for so fucking long that I'm literally getting into arguments on Twitter about whether or not someone who's 15% Indian, whether they're white or not. And it's just like, that's how fucking bad it is in America now. So it's, like in Europe, maybe there's a better chance because this is it is a relatively new phenomenon there. I would even say, this is wishful thinking, I think, just because I think there's just something in the Anglo blood that invites this kind of demographic suicide. But I would even say places like Australia, where they had the all white policy until like really fucking recently, you know, they have a better chance, but maybe not even there, you know, like
One of the strengths of Operation Wetback, though, was its logistics. I mean, they did a very good job at sizing up the scope of the problem and then using existing resources to deport people. And even though we have a much bigger demographic problem now, we also have more robust resources to transport people. I mean, they were using planes and things like that, but not at the level that we're capable
yeah,
of
but
doing
this isn't
today.
about technological capability. We could literally drone strike every illegal tomorrow. You think with Palantir and all the fucking flock cameras and facial, you don't think, I mean, not for a second. If we wanted to, if we had the political will and some kind of just, you know, super authoritarian guy that but here's the problem: because of the structure of our government, even if you had literal Hitler in the White House, literal Hitler in the White House isn't enough, because you'd have to have like 1,000 Hitlers over at the DOD.
Yeah,
You'd
but
have to have,
I would never advocate for a systemic solution. I mean, this is going to have to be extra political. And as the population is getting pushed around more and more, people are going to discover that will. I mean, it's going to happen eventually. Don't you have
well,
any faith in white people? I mean, everybody in the
no,
world talks about how we're so genocidal and so awful. I think that we're just efficient and rational, and that we can look inside ourselves and find that genocidal part of ourselves and express it. And I think that everybody should be really fucking worried.
well, my answer to that is that while that does happen, it has never happened in a ethnically diverse country. There's never been a situation where whites make up 50% or less of a country and then magically rise up and take over the country. You know, like that
Yeah,
has
but there are
nothing like that.
150 million white people in this country.
Yeah, but there's like 160 million non-white people.
Yeah, but it's not like the intelligence of 5 black guys is like
It
one. It's like 5 to 1 in terms of intelligence. So
Yeah, but
let's
intelligence
think about, you only
isn't the role
need the
block either.
vanguard. You need the vanguard, and you need them to be efficient, and you need them to be innovative. I mean, I'm not particularly concerned about the numbers in that way, because we're not looking at a 1-to-1 comparison here.
I'll tell you what. When I'm done with my project, when I drop like the biggest black pill that white people have ever seen, then you'll understand. I'm just
No,
so
I mean,
I'm just so seeped in research right now, because it's just like the more you look into it, the more you're just like, fuck, man. Like there's just so many. Here's the thing: you talk about a vanguard. Okay, well that's great. There's like what we're talking about, like what Patriot Front versus like the 2,000 Jewish NGOs with millions of dollars, and that's just like one racial interest. You know,
I know. I'm not saying these aren't tremendous problems. I'm saying they aren't insurmountable. We have gotten out of some jams as white people. I believe in our will to survive as a
But
people.
we got out of
I really do.
jams when we operated within a country where the elite were also white people, and they also had the same existential anxieties that the populace did. In fact, often the other way around. Usually what happened was you had a white country that was led by whites that then led their population towards this school shooter type mentality,
Right.
top down. It wasn't like a bottom up kind of a thing. Like even the Revolutionary War, right? They like to talk about it like it was just a bunch of farmers with pitchforks, but it wasn't. We're talking about big landowners. We're talking about like the people that knew that if there wasn't an English control of the colony, that they would become the ruling class. And because they sort of de facto already were, that they just were, if they severed that connection across the Atlantic Ocean, that it's not like there would be this massive reordering of the social hierarchy in the colonies. It just would lack this overbearing system across the pond. And so that's the
But
problem.
white people, they always trend in all of our societies. We trend towards order. And as society becomes increasingly chaotic, there's going to be a necessary reconstruction, a necessary reordering of our government, of our society. I don't expect our current government to be able to implement any of these things. I mean, I've totally lost faith in the system, but that doesn't mean that we can't develop something for white people. And I think that is where the movement is heading. These things are not
But
impossible.
what's this something though? Like you're talking a lot of you're using a lot of platitudes and
Oh, I mean,
kind of
I have no idea. We have to wait until these I have no fucking clue. Yeah, you think I have the answers to this? I'm just saying that things can change really quickly and that we have to be ready to seize the opportunities when those become apparent and when they arise. I mean,
yeah,
I
but
just think that we're going to figure it out. I do.
well, but here's the thing. The thing is, we need some specificity, and that's what I set out to do when I started my research a few weeks ago. Is I was like, first of all, I need an assessment, like how bad is it, and then I
Yeah.
need to know like how did it get this bad, and for how long.
Are there any
And
numbers on how bad it is? Because to date cannot find a reasonable
well,
estimate for the number of white people in this country.
well, I'll tell you what. Under 18, it's already happened. Even by official numbers, under
Sub
18,
50.
we're sub 50.
Yeah.
By official numbers, we're supposedly still 56, but that's still really bad, and
Oh.
that's of total in the United States. There's several urban areas that are already we're the minority, and because you got to think that's like total country, so that includes all the rural areas where it's still like 90% white or whatever, right? So if you include all these if you include Maine in the average and everything, and Vermont and all this stuff, you're still coming up 56%. That's what I'm trying to explain and then the whites that you do have, I mean, it's not like a vast majority of whites or even a majority or even like a strong, a robust minority is white nationalist, like at best, you have maybe 50% of whites are maybe sympathetic to, white nationalist leanings, but you have, that's the problem is you still have the 50% of white liberals who just hate themselves or there's a number of things
Yeah,
that
but
work
that's what
there.
I'm telling you. These things reorder somewhat spontaneously when tribalism becomes acceptable because lives are threatened and way of life is threatened. So, I have a friend, she came over from the left a year ago, and now she's the most racist person I've ever met in my life. Like these things happen
Yeah, but
quickly.
what's the thing? Like, what's a thing? You keep saying these
If people
things,
start getting murdered in mass by
then what?
minorities,
But then what?
then I think people will accept white nationalism.
Okay, but let's say they do. Then what? Then what happens?
Well, the government, I think, is also going to collapse. We're going to have some sort of
Okay,
economic
so
calamity.
but
I mean, there's going to be
to
an
wait for that,
external. We are going to have to wait for some external calamity. I don't really see a way that we're going to be able to reorder in the absence of the system collapsing. I mean, do you? We have no institutional and political power, but they're not always going to have power. They have no credibility. They have no money. This war with Iran has been a disaster for the image that we have a robust military on an international level. I mean, how much longer can we really do this? Do you really think that it is not imminent that there's going to be some sort of political reordering? The government doesn't have infinite resources.
No, don't get me wrong. I would love for there to be that. I'm just saying that even if you, like the Roman Empire did not just one day have a reordering.
Right.
The Roman Empire slowly bled out, and people fled and left, and I feel like that's more likely than white people suddenly band together and I don't know, kill all the Mexicans or something, like, you know what I mean? Like that's the problem. Is like there's no, like, what's the thing that they all do once they we all figured it out. No, we're white now.
No. I mean, even on an international level, I think that white people are going to have to get together because our first priority is living in high trust communities, and so we just come together nationally or naturally. So even if this doesn't happen in the United States, I'm not really, even though I'm a heritage American, I'm not attached to the American project. If we have to do this with Europeans, I'm fine with it. But the goal now is to compact the white population, preserve, get birth rates up, and then develop a plan. I don't know what this plan is. I'm a woman. I don't have a plan for how to reorder society. But I mean, what we can't just like black pill into our graves here. Like we need to figure something out.
I'm not saying white people are going to go extinct. I think what I am saying though is in the past when you've had people that have been up against elite structures like this, what you're talking about, the pilgrims who came to America, the Mormon pioneers that went to Utah, that's usually the solution. You get the fuck out and you go somewhere else. And
I'm fine with that. If we have to do that, then I'm okay.
But where are we going to go? That's the problem. Is
Yeah.
Before, up until recently, that was always an option. But now we're at a point where we live in a world of Google Earth, where every fucking square inch of the planet has been photographed and mapped and surveyed and belongs to fucking somebody, somewhere. And you can't just load up a boat and be like, we're going to go steal all that land from them Indians over there, and that's the problem is if you could do that, fuck, absolutely. Now there's possible scenarios where there's a civil war, maybe there's like you said, maybe there's a world war, like maybe because China does start kicking everyone's ass because they don't have to worry about diversity problems. They do develop more powerful AIs, and then finally you get Western ruling class people getting tired of playing second banana to Chinese, and so they, something happens, or maybe there's some kind of fight over resources, some kind of rare earth mineral that like the super data centers need, or whatever the fuck, right? Maybe there's some kind of war that causes a problem. The problem, even in that scenario, is the United States demographically is still fucked, and I don't see, like, even with a world war or a civil war maybe, but you're still super demographically fucked in the United States. I think that, like you said, I'm not, as much as I do feel connected to this land, if there was like some kind of actual white country that would accept, maybe you have to take a DNA test or whatever to get in.
I'm
but
there.
I'm fucking there. I would show up. I would let them test my DNA and whatever, but I feel like that's almost more likely that it would happen somewhere else. The United States is just so, like I said, once I just anticipate a giant black pill from me, because once you see like just how fucking bad it is and how long it's been going on, it's kind of hard to imagine a scenario where that momentum reverses. Because this is.
But I'm not even thinking about the United States. I'm totally off that train. I don't give a shit anymore about this country. I care about the preservation of white interests internationally. So whatever we have to do, we are 7% of the world population. That is not insignificant. That is hundreds of millions of people. I think that we can find a solution where we at least create a safe environment for ourselves and our ability to procreate. And that's really what I'm looking towards right now. We can fortify the absolute shit out of it.
Well, I think in the short term, that the fight that people, in order to make sure you can preserve white people in the short term, because we have to have, long-term solutions are great to theorize about and whatever. But I do think in the short term that we need to start fighting for and making sure that we can have the freedom of association in the United States and have communities kind of like Outlaws got, and start building upon that, even if it's covert, even if it's like not as, which, by the way, there are communities that already exist that are all white that no one talks about it because they don't want to have Jews sue them, But I think that's the way to go. Is in the meantime, sure, it'd be great if some black swan event happens and whatever, but in the meantime, we got to worry about survival. And not only that, we have to start collectivizing in a way, because that's the other issue too, is there are white, and I mean geographically too, like not just because there's lots of of people that get it, but they're all over the place. They're dotted all over the world, not even just all over the country. Like the people that truly get it. Maybe our numbers are, I don't even know what do you think? I mean, if you had to put a number to how many of people are as race pilled as you, like how many
In the world?
in the world, like if you had to put an actual, like a quantitative number to it, like
I would
100,000.
say, oh no, far more than that.
You think so?
I would say it's in the millions.
That are as race pilled as you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You think so?
On the earth, there's
On
7
the earth?
billion people. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
I mean,
think that we can at least get a few million people together
no,
that
I'm saying
are,
like in this moment, like you think there's over 1 million white people that that would listen to us and not think that we're racist?
yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we've got, okay, let 30,000 people listen to our show each week, roughly. Let's say they're all unique views. And that's of people that have been exposed to our content. Let's say we exposed our content to 7 billion people.
Yeah, no,
How many people would
I'm
be
not saying
receptive to
you
it?
couldn't get 1 million. I'm just saying like right now you think there's 1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are naturally
Mm.
racist, and that what we're saying is not that controversial.
No, I just don't think they're in that headspace yet. I think there's still a lot of people that are fighting, the centuries of propaganda and all that nonsense.
Yeah, but when you find out certain pieces of information and then it makes your life make sense, a lot of people just can't, they can't go on any longer without accepting that truth. A lot of people can still live in the delusion, but there's a subset of high IQ individuals that are like, huh, well, now I know Santa doesn't exist and I just have to act accordingly. And I think that those numbers would total probably more than in the millions.
I'll have to try to see if there's a way to actually get like real. I don't know how you determine that. Well, there's got to be a way of trying to find some kind of data point somewhere that lets you extrapolate out and actually at least have like a smart estimate. I'm gonna have to do that.
And then look at how much things have changed in terms of what is socially acceptable to say. I mean, like my dad was at the barber shop and they were just talking about the Jews.
Yeah, but you live in like a unique part of the country.
Yeah, it's awesome.
like where I live, they certainly have they had fuck Joe Biden signs. Like there was like one of these ranchers had a giant billboard that he probably used illegal immigrants to paint fuck Joe Biden in giant letters. And that was funny, haha, but I guarantee you that guy loves Israel. And, like the people out here that are MAGA boomers, and there are some, but they're MAGA boomers. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they would be upset. They would call me a racist. They'd be like, well, I'm not racist. I just think that the economy would be better without illegal.
Well, people care about social conformity. So as we move the needle, if we're able to regain some element of the narrative and these things become more socially acceptable, which I think it's irrefutable that has happened in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, there's just no way you can argue that this is not becoming part of the national narrative in a meaningful way. And as that happens, people are going to get peeled off and they're going to engage in social conformity. And that's why it's important to continue to do what we do, even though we've said the same things over and over a million times.
No, look, I think that people being suspicious of Jewish influence is certainly, I wouldn't say mainstream necessarily, but the taboo has certainly been historically weakened, at least post World War II. And I do think that there are more race conscious white people than there have been probably since, well, my whole lifetime. I would agree with that. But I don't think that it rises to the millions. And I don't think that.
How could it not? How many white people are there in the world? I mean, I don't even know the answer to that question. It's in the hundreds of millions, surely.
Yeah. But I think that it's like, I think it's below 1% of white people that get it.
That's still millions and millions of people.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just like I said. I would like to find a way. There's got to be some metric where you can kind of extrapolate out and try to figure out,
Okay, there are 1.2 billion white people globally. Although, what are they counting as white? Parts of Latin America.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's
let's
not.
say, let's say 1 billion. Does that seem fair?
I don't know. Let me see if there's any kind of number I can find where there's some.
And then 1% of 1 billion is still 10 million.
Yeah, but I think
right?
it's less. I think it's less than 1%.
If
Let's
it's
see.
if it's 0.5%, it's 5 million.
I'm trying to find out if there's any kind of political polling data or something about self-identifying white nationalists or something that we can look at.
And now we're all connected because of the internet. I think that this is, I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good about things.
Let's see here. We got best guess, tens of thousands of organized active participants worldwide, and low millions who endorse the core idea when asked in surveys. What surveys? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, most groups are tiny single-digit, low dozens. Realistic formal membership across U.S. groups is probably in the low tens of thousands at most. If you add Europe, Australia, Canada, scattered other global organizations, still well under 100,000.
That's formal organization. That doesn't mean anything. How many people are
well,
listening to our show while they're doing their
right? No, but it's
mundane
trying.
job?
That's just one category. It's trying to add up different. Like it's trying to come up with a best guess here. Broader support. Blah 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 blah. It doesn't really, or does it have a number? So, let's see here. A 2000, now this is a little old, a 2021 nationally representative survey of non-Hispanic white U.S. adults found that roughly 6% endorsed a description of white nationalism or white nationalist beliefs after being given it. So in other words, they're not asked if they're white nationalists. They were asked certain things, and then they weren't scared off by the label of white nationalists. But that's the thing. Some
Probably
of those people
more accurate
would be.
then.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That those people, they'll as soon as you tell them it's white nationalist, they're like, oh, and they run away.
You don't know that. That's a huge supposition. They're asking about core belief systems. So 6%.
6%. The statement covered white demographic threat. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. So, well, I'll tell you what. By that estimate, if that estimate is accurate, and that's the United States, that would translate to roughly 8 million people.
That's amazing. That is so many people.
That's more than I thought. If that's accurate, that's more than I thought. It just seems like, because I think the reason why it seems like this is, and by the way, I think that unfortunately there's a lot of people though, because there's a reason why I asked you people that you think are as red-pilled as you are specifically, is there's a lot of people that call themselves white nationalists and then they fuck it because they watch Nick. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a white nationalist because like I watched this gay Mexican guy, and it's like, well, like I'm literally getting into fights with people who call themselves white nationalists, whether or not someone who's like a quarter Mexican is white or not. And it's like, then you're not a white nationalist. If you think that's white, then what demographic are you preserving exactly? Mutt people?
Yeah. Okay, so I asked Grok, based on how many whites in the world there are non-Hispanic, and 6% are sympathetic to white nationalism, and they each convert 5 people to white nationalism.
Well,
how many people is that?
Well, that's a big if.
You can't, everybody can't convert 5 people. Okay. What do you think is reasonable? 1 person?
I don't know. Well, get the starting number, and then all you do is times that by 5 or whatever once you get the starting number.
Well, no, I want to do multiple generations here. Okay, so let's say they each convert 1 person, which is, those are weak numbers, guys. Like everybody should get at least one of their friends on board.
I don't know. I
here.
struggled to get my mom to fucking.
That's a unique case,
racist.
though. You've probably converted thousands and thousands and thousands of people to white nationalism.
Maybe over a decade, yeah.
So that's 100 million people. If in the the white world population, non-Hispanic, 6% from your data are sympathetic to white nationalism, they each convert one person. That's 100 million people. If those people convert one person, how many people is that?
Well, here's the thing. We talk about on this show a lot how behavior's biological. And I think that there are some biological hard-coded behaviors within white people specifically that prevent them from being white nationalists.
Right.
I think that is something that we need to come to terms with. The low in-group preference, the attraction to the out-group. I mean, there's study after study showing that, famously that go viral from time to time where it's like, oh, look, when white people take a survey asking which race they prefer, sometimes they actually prefer a different race over their own. In fact, that's, something that you often see with like liberal women and stuff like that when they take that survey, whereas no other race does that. Now, some of that you could chalk it up to propaganda and whatever, but like some of that's just biological, hard-coded nonsense that white people have to come to terms with. And so that's there's a number of other things. There's religious components that make it really difficult to be race first. Like you can't have, if you have the majority of white people practicing a religion that tells them that that we're all God's children, that becomes that's not insignificant. That's not.
But who cares about these people?
No, but I'm just saying, like, I do, because if you're going to be at war with them, like, you have to, what I mean? Like, it's one thing to say, oh, could like, let's like this number that you're trying to come up with by doing the math, like let's say tens of millions of people, tens of millions of people are going to be able to, I don't know what take over Haiti or something. Like, what are we doing with these people? Like, what are we going to do if like the whole rest of the world, like if we're still the minorities in all of our countries?
We're going to get together and we're going to create fortified fiefdoms.
Where? In Antarctica?
No, I mean, you've driven across the United States. There are like,
that's why
from Seattle to Colorado and in Wyoming.
Well, I think we should do that in the short term. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Is like, I think that in the short term is what white people should be doing, is looking at ways to acquire land and quietly do that. But I'm just saying, like, what do we do in the long term in terms of like, if we're up against this genetic behavior of all the other whites that's basically anti-white, eventually, yes, that will get bred out because of the proximity to diversity. But we're talking like centuries.
Yeah, but we have to keep moving forward. I mean, we have to write a new story for ourselves.
Sure,
it's what we have to do.
No, and like I said, I'm not black-pilled on white people. That will happen, and there will be white people that are just have like extra high in-group preference as a result of being the only white people not breeding with all the other fucking mutt people around them. So I get it, but I'm just saying, like, if I think there's a lot of white people that think that, like, in 20 years or in 30 years, there's going to be like some white Wakanda somewhere, and that's just like, nah, probably not.
No. I mean, we need to have realistic expectations here. But I think we're gonna make it. I don't think that we're gonna be imprisoned by Jews and surrounded by black people. Like, there's no way that this
we're
story,
already surrounded by black people.
That's no. But like,
You been to
I don't
Houston?
think that we're gonna be. Yeah, really. This is not
Atlanta?
how
Holy
the
shit.
story ends. The story doesn't end
No.
with us being overtaken by low IQ minorities.
If I thought that, I wouldn't even
Jews.
bother. I wouldn't even do this.
Yeah. We would all drift into a life of hedonism. I mean, the very existence of our YouTube channels is evidence that we're resonating with some people. Now, I haven't had any growth in like 7 years. So there's that. But I think some of that's algorithmic and, other forces at play here. But there are 126,000 people that will sit here and listen to me talk about Jews.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I
That
said,
counts for something, Devin. It counts for something. The people, the
Re-
audience.
honestly,
there,
part
the
of it
people are
is
there.
I'm like right now I'm like extra black pill because I've just been researching immigration data for like 2 weeks and it's
Dude, you need to
bad.
come to Coeur d'Alene.
I need to like frolic with white people at some point. It's
It's amazing. It's an amazing place to be.
yeah, I've been up to my eyeballs in this fucking research though. I'll tell you, it's the story of how we got here is so, it makes your blood boil because it's so clear that the founding fathers and the initial white people that we descend from wanted this country to remain for them, their families, for their bloodlines, for their descendants. It's written in the fucking preamble of the Constitution, you know? And it's so obvious that even people like Jefferson, like Lincoln, knew that the differences between black people and white people were biological in nature. And they said as much. It's in writing, you know? And there really wasn't a demographic shift until like around the 1850s when we started letting in like the potato famine, Irish, and then like some of the Germans came in around the same time. And then it was just like the floodgates opened after the Civil War. Excuse me. And then like when we let in all the Eastern European Jews around the turn of the century, it was just like, it's just been snowball. Like it's amazing how dramatically they were able to change. Because you look at the backgrounds of all the people instrumental in this stuff, and they're almost, not always, but they're almost all of immigrant background. And, you know, whether they're Jewish or Catholic or whoever, you look at the backgrounds of everyone that, you know, like Hart and Seller, both, you know, one Catholic, one Jew, both immigrant backgrounds. You know, you look at even the people that were fighting in fact, including Emmanuel Seller, who obviously finally got his way. He was fighting the immigration restrictions from early on when they passed the Immigration Act in 1924 to stop people like him from getting into the country. And so, but because, you know, you let a bunch of people in and it doesn't just stop there, just like with this Mexican thing, right? You let in a bunch of Mexicans to pick oranges and then give citizenship to their children who can then, once they're 18, start doing chain migration of their entire extended family. And then once their extended family gets citizenship, they can do more, you know, like that's been ongoing. That hasn't stopped. They haven't put a stop to that. You have the numbers are just, I mean, to go from even in 1965 when the damage was already pretty severe, when we were down to, I think, 85% white people by 1965, and like pretty much all decades before that, hovering around 90. To get to that to below 50 with this generation, I mean, that's not an insignificant hurdle. That is massive. And I will tell you, like I said, the other thing that's blackpilling me is even all these people that on Twitter who call themselves white nationalists and watch my show and watch your show maybe and all this other stuff. I'm getting into arguments about people who aren't white being like, well, let's just let them in. I'm like, that's, you stupid nigger. That's exactly what people said to let in that's what caused the problem. You know, it's like, have you not, you haven't even learned. It's like, well, come on, let the white race, you know, can we have some wiggle room on that? It's like, no, you dumbass. Like, that's why this happened. It's because someone had a based fucking black friend and a based Jewish friend. And come on, let's just let in this Jewish family. Come on, just let, and like, that's what's wrong with you people. And that's the thing is, even these people that are supposedly the most race conscious people that are in my audience, some of them, it's like, they don't get it. And it's like, what the fuck is the problem here? Like, and that's what I'm saying is the gene pool in America is just such a fucking mess. It's just such a fucking nasty soup of trash genes at this point that it's like, what are we going to do? Anyway. I'm just naturally a Debbie Downer sometimes, but I've been. I'll tell you what. I'll send you the. I'll send you the thing that I'm working on, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And just try not to shoot yourself in the head after you see it. it's not a happy project, but
I'll read it
anyway.
and edit it.
Available for available for everyone soon. With that happy thought.
Let's do some super chats.
Oh yeah, super chats.
Oh, damn. You know, it's funny because I think you're too black-pilled and I think Cameron's too optimistic, and I'm just getting pulled apart.
Well, look, I'll admit I am in like a. First of all, I already kind of trend more pessimistic, but like, obviously, right? But the going it because there's just some things that like when you start to read like the same story happening to white people over and over and over again, and they just never stop it from happening, and it's just like, what's wrong with us? You know, it's like when you see them letting more and more immigrants in, and then like they're like, it's a problem, we got to do something quick, call it Operation Wetback and throw some Mexicans on a bus, and like we won, guys. And then it's like, no, we didn't. Like look around, like you didn't win, you know, you didn't get the job done, and you know, you didn't do it thoroughly enough. And then once you never went after the fucking farmers, like they never get the job done. Or like with like I said, with Reagan was just like, oh yeah, there's 3 million Mexicans are legal, but don't worry guys, we're going to start cracking down on employers, and never did it. Yeah, they never fucking did it. And so they just made 3 million Mexicans legal. And like, that's not going to affect the demographics permanently, you know? And so that's what I'm talking about, is like, you go back in history and not once was there like it was always like, how can we slow this down? Never once was there anything done to reverse it. And even when they did things to try to slow it down.
Hitler was not that long ago.
Hitler wasn't English, and Hitler wasn't American.
But we were just talking about the international forces and how we're letting go of the American project. I'm telling you, this is in us.
But look at the Germans; they're almost fucking worse off than, you know, in terms of in racial consciousness than Americans. You know, like fuck, you even just say what you just said, you go to jail in Germany. You know?
Yeah.
And so that's
things need to change. Things are going to change.
Anyway,
Devon, it's gonna be okay, Devon. It's gonna be okay.
I'm telling you, when you read it, yeah, you might change your mind.
I know we're in trouble, but I'm just not attached to America anymore. So yeah, I'm over it.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I mean, I've been thinking about that too. Is like, you know, my ancestors at one point left their homeland to go to somewhere new because they want. Because I'll tell you one thing, I do have the explorer gene. And so, hey, you know, if it comes down to it and I got to go somewhere, hey, fuck it, I'll do it. All right, we got to here. Pork Chop says, Replay Gang, have you two seen the Young Washington film? I loved it. It shows white excellence, but also has the usual Indian grievance and lies. Wish we had Young Washington to port wetbacks today. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
I haven't seen that. I don't even know what that is. So maybe I'll have to take a look at that. Then we got Gorilla Hand says, you did an insomnia stream a month or two ago on homeless people. There's a Chris Chan type YouTuber named Danny Larson, has schizophrenia and autism, but his chat sends him money to do crazy things. He's not a likable person at all, but he came from a fucked up family and was neglected. Just shows how fucked up our society is, that people take advantage of him. Also has suspicious physical features.
There was a Black Mirror episode about that.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either. Did I do an insomnia stream on homeless people? I don't think I did an insomnia stream on homeless people. I don't know. I can't think of, maybe a homeless person. I can't think of what it would be. Then we got Likes to Watch says, just wanted to avoid being a filthy freeloader. Thanks for doing the show, even even with Blonde's event. I hope it goes well. Cheers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Then we got Tomahawk. We easily could have taken all of Mexico, but we decided to be nice. I'm dead serious. Yeah, no, we easily could have taken. But here's the problem: if we had done
We don't
that,
want it. Yeah. Then we'd have to deal with all the Mexicans.
it'd be like Puerto Rico, like only worse, because there'd be like a billion more of them. The only way, that's the thing, is people need to. I mean, white people need to learn the lesson, the demographic lesson. That hopefully some of them are learning that if in the future you decide to go take over something, make sure nothing's left.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
No one left. I mean, I'm not saying I have to kill them all, but they can't stay there. Or you can kill them, whatever. All right, then we got Anomalous Canard says, Replay gang checking in on finding others in the wild. A while back was catching up on an old friend that I hadn't seen in years. Always thought he was a lib. The subject of bees came up. He mentioned that he listens to a podcast by a beekeeper who lives in the desert. I responded I was glad Churro was okay. I guess you never know when a related topic might connect. Well, there you go. So maybe you guys are white pilling me.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys are white pilling me. There's randos out there that you're encountering. I've wondered that. I've wondered if, because like I'll interact with someone in the public who seems like the kind of person that would be, in the audience, and I always wonder, like, have I met a pill popper before? Like, have I?
Sometimes people will just let you talk like they don't know who you are and then tell you later. That happened to me at the park a few weeks ago.
Ah, well, there you go.
They were like, well, what do you do for a living? And I was like, I do political podcasting. They were like, oh, we're big fans of Outlaws.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I once I played a game that had voice chat in it a couple of years ago, and it was well, I'll just say it was DayZ. So if this guy's out there, he'll know. But I hadn't played DayZ in like it's like a 12-year-old game now. And my friend was like, hey, hop on this server. And it was like, I think it was like around Thanksgiving or something. Like I had nothing going on. I was like, fuck it. I still got it on Steam or whatever, right? Install it and got in there. And I get in this server and it has voice chat. Like you can walk up and talk to people. And I walk up to some guy and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he just looks at me, or his character does. And then he says, you sound like a podcaster. And without missing a beat, though, I acted like I didn't know what he meant by that. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, I just, I have a really good microphone, like trying to make it sound like, oh, I'm not wearing a gaming headset. So that's why I sound like a podcaster. That's why my voice sounds so good, and then I just like changed the subject and then like ran away. So if you're out there, dude, on DayZ that thinks you might have talked to Devon Stack, you did. But I think that was a couple of years ago now. All right, then we got let's see here. Oh, gigantic dono from Herp Derp.
Hey,
very much appreciated, Herp Derp, especially after Saturday. For fuck's sake, guys!
Oh, thank
Saturday
you
was
so
a fucking
much.
nightmare. Herp Derp says, I personally don't care about the donation chat threshold myself, as the more you guys are reading, the longer you're kept talking. It does make sense if you're on a time crunch, though. Replay gang. Well, I appreciate that, Herp Derp. Look at that, Herp Derp.
Thank you.
Doing the heavy lifting out there.
That's so cool. We really appreciate it. Summer months are tough as a streamer.
Yeah, no, especially, and honestly, just generally, like I saw before we went live, Elijah Schaefer tweeted out he just wasn't even going to do the show tonight because he's like, no one cares about politics right now. My hosts don't care. We're just not even going to stream tonight. And so I'm like, oh damn.
He's having a unique problem.
Yeah, he's going through something. But like, but I feel like it's not limited to just us. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people that are experiencing people that are just burned out on it. And it's just summer too. It's summer. why not? I mean, why not go outside? In fact, the weather out here is amazing right now, believe it. I mean, it's hot, but if you're used to desert heat, then
No white people should be used to desert heat.
what are you talking about?
Weirdo.
Ever hear about Lawrence of Arabia? Come on.
Whatever.
This is
nonsense.
Part of our genome.
No, you should want to live in a bog like the rest of us.
No, we are desert
not
conquerors.
Overcast and 60 degrees. I'm like, what is this?
We are desert conquerors. All right. Then we got Wanderlost says we took it from the Mexicans. All right. Let me enjoy I live on land that my ancestors took from the Mexicans. They're just like, yoink.
On this barren wasteland filled with giant spiders and scorpions and snakes.
And centipedes.
Nobody should live in.
Yeah. Land snakes for sure. And churros, though. So Wanderlost says, meanwhile, 70 years later, a 90-year-old farmer's beneficiaries will sell to developers. FYI, his daughter picked veggies as a teen, quickly transitioned to being a lifeguard. There you go. I don't get the lifeguard part. But that's the thing is a lot of these farms now are just these big conglomerates. There's, in fact, some of them are foreign. There are agricultural areas around where I live, sort of, that are not of this continent in ownership. Yeah. Then we got Drofwark says, Rebecca's comment about homogeneous white countries reminds me of the time I asked Grok to name the best multicultural country, and it replied Iceland.
Yeah.
There.
I doubt that's true.
Yes. Then we got Night Train with a generous dono says Operation Brownout is a go. Yeah, we should have like a Operation something.
I like it.
Operation Brownout. All right, then we got Words Are Words. No, you're below the threshold, but you did say best stream on the internet, so I'll say that.
Thank you.
All right, then we got Denise the Celt says we don't need mestizos. We have plenty of Negroes, attack dogs, and whips. Yeah, well, that's the thing is I mean, look, that's part of, I was researching demographic data and just the Hispanic population in the United States, especially like in California, Texas. I mean, well, Texas is already fewer white people than Mexican people, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it's gotta be. Yeah.
New Mexico, I would think, is probably right there too. Arizona, Nevada, maybe, I don't know, to double check, but it's already like the Mexicans have already pretty much taken over Mexico. They're pretty much taking it back. They've already taken it back. All right. Then we got Tomahawk says garbage men used to make a shit ton of money back in the day because nobody wanted to do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's but because I guess Mexicans wouldn't do it either. They had to just pay more. All right, we got the Great Wahite says, I have family members who do this. They have a small construction business that's 100% Mexican labor. They're diehard Christian magatards, and they have many expensive toys. We don't get along. Many such cases. Yeah, and like, look, I've known people too that have complained about immigration. They vote Republican, and then they want to do a home improvement project, and they go pick up illegals outside of Home Depot. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Then we got Book Track Groove says the history of orange juice is crazy. Orange frozen concentrate is better than carton. You can water it down so it's not high in sugar. Been researching breeds of cotton, and yes, there is a difference.
There is a difference in different kinds of cotton. That is true. The orange juice thing, if I'm going to drink orange juice, which is so rare because it's like you're eating 20 oranges, then it has to be super concentrated orange juice, fresh squeezed with tons of pulp. Otherwise, it's like, what's the point? What's the point?
All right. Then we got Jimbo Rockford says, "Hey Devon, I heard you discuss your own experiences with the power of prayer. I have heard you tell about your experience with the divine interventions in saving a man's life. Yet I think your critique of Christianity is a valid one. And I don't see it as inherently anti-Christ or anti-Christianity. You're just identifying a glitch in the software. And I have to agree, I think Darby Schofield dispensationalism is a big part of that glitch and is a huge problem, if anything. I think is galvanizing to rigor of my faith and gives me a intellectual challenge to square. He's given $10 for each one of those, by the way, to square the circle and smooth the cognitive dissonance. That being said, I believe in the eternal soul, and I think you have a good one. I pray for your safety, prosperity, well-being, and salvation. Or give your sainted mother a hug for me. She seems like a genuinely sweet lady. Catch y'all on the replay." Well, that was like super, super fucking nice, Jimbo Rockford. That was really nice of you. Yeah, look, and yeah, I acknowledge the role that Christianity has played in white history. I mean, it was basically the white religion for like 1,000 years. I get it, and it's with a heavy heart that I make these criticisms, because it would be so much easier for me in a lot of ways to just embrace it. I'm just too autistic. I look at systems. I look at systems and I look for how they work and when and how they don't work. And that's just what I'm doing. I'm just identifying a problem with the system.
And I don't want to speak for Devon, but I'm trying not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So problems with Christian institutions that are run by men and adulterated by men, it's not an indictment of God. So I try to think about that when I'm feeling like really lost in my faith journey, that this really has nothing to do with God.
All right. Can you take over just for half a second? Churro won't shut up. And
I knew I heard Churro. Yeah. Sure.
All right. Hang on. I'll be right back.
Blue Boy says, "Have you ever heard of the original Hobbit cartoon? Not the one from the 70s. In the 60s, some Jew got rights and made the shittiest cartoon in history while screwing over Tolkien. Maybe stream worthy." I'll mention that to Devon. No, I've never heard of it. Shell Beach said, "It's not that they care more about money than race. It's that they don't understand or appreciate that their whole entire race really is being wiped out. It's not real to them. It's just abstract." That's true. I mean, the people that we talk to on the internet already have some idea that this is an ongoing problem. But at some point, the reality is going to hit people in the face. It has to. And that's kind of where Devon and I differ. People can ignore these things for a long time, for a lot longer than I previously anticipated. But it's a virtual inevitability that people have to accept what's going on demographically, especially as their lives become increasingly dangerous. Also, I think we have a spiritual desire to reconnect with our ethnic heritage, and that's innate to us. And that is something that I find very reassuring, that we don't have a lot of value in our lives, and that we're always striving for or to reestablish that kind of connection. So that makes me feel a lot better. Let's see. Paladin, big donation. Thank you. They are importing the immigrants for military purposes today too. Yeah, that's definitely true. The rest of the ones on my end are to Devon. Come on, guys. Even my fans aren't my fans. They're fans of Devon. No, I'll take it. I'm extremely grateful. Let me reload this. Trey says, "Golf movies review. Love the insight. Second, asked to review movie Heretic. Also, Rebecca, good movie to help you pull back towards agnostic. It's easy once you understand religion is a controlled program." Golf movies review. Love the insight. Oh, review the movie Heretic. Okay, I see. Capitalization, punctuation, commas, people, commas. I need commas in your super chats, or I have no fucking idea what you guys are talking about. Okay.
Are you getting nonsense super chats while I was gone?
Yeah. Okay, but I understand. Review the movie Heretic. All right, noted. All right, let me do one more and then we can go back to your end. Paladin YYZ. Come on, Sims. Blonde's voice sounds weak. She's looking pale. Her pulse is thready. She needs compliments. Stat. Compare her to Oceans. Tug on her pigtails. Show her your fraud collection. Our girl needs some love. She's fading. Yeah, in the beginning of the chat, because I'm always simp baiting my audience because I'm 38 and I'm like, all right, before my clock runs out, which is like imminent, I need to amass all of the compliments so that I can cruise through the rest of my life without killing myself. And so I was like, has anyone else noticed no one's noticed the massive amount of weight I've lost? No one noticed. Like, come on, guys. It's not a massive amount. I did lose 10 pounds though, and I'm very proud of myself.
Ah, nice.
Yes, I'm not a large person, so 10 pounds is like a ton. Through intermittent fasting and going to Pure Bar 5 times a week, it's been a fucking nightmare.
What's
I don't
Pure
understand. Pure Bar is like cardio Pilates. It is so hard. It is high interval intensity training with weights and then Pilates and then some ballet. And it's just brutal. It's just punishing. It's punishing and brutal. And I don't understand how people are like losing massive amounts of weight easily. Like losing 10 pounds, it was 2 months of no cheating, 1,200 calories a day, 24-hour fast a week, like almost cutting out carbs, like no sweets, and then really intense exercise 5 days a week. And I've only lost 10 pounds.
Well, like I
how are
said
people
though,
doing this?
it's if you weighed like 300 pounds, you would have lost that 10 pounds like in like a few days of just not eating
Yeah.
garbage. You know, so it's more like once you get down, like once you're already kind of trim, like to lose that last little bit is, you know, because your body's fighting hard to hang on to that. Because it's like, but what if there's a famine? We're gonna need
Yeah.
that 10 pounds, you know. So
Well, yeah, and I think my body's having this like going out of business sale where it's like get pregnant one more time, bitch. Like you can do it. Like maybe 2 more times. And so it's hanging on to abdominal weight. Like,
there you go. Yeah.
you know, pregnancy messes everybody up. I hate these posts I see these posts on Instagram and Twitter all the time. Like, pregnancy doesn't mess anything up. My body's exactly the like. Shut up, everyone. Shut up. Like pregnancy
Yeah.
busts your body open like those cans of biscuits. It's just a disaster. It's just a fucking mess. Getting things back together has been truly one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. No,
Bad genetics.
many women never recover. Never recover.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of work. So notice me, see me. What does he say in Mad Max? Witness me. There it is. There it is. All right. Do you want to finish yours?
Yes, we got let's see here. Professor Chaos says, "Hey Dev, from your experience, do libertarians only support creative destruction policies so long as they hurt whites? Because I've noticed they never apply creative destruction to farm labor." Yeah. Well, that's the thing is the libertarians that I worked with, the reason I stopped wanting to be a libertarian is it became increasingly obvious that it was it was basically and I say theology and I mean theology. It was a theology of self-centeredness, you know, and at like your benefit at any cost.
Yeah.
And
it is. Yeah.
and so which included open borders, which included, you know, for any reason, right? And so and it was such a la la land. And look, the only people that I ever knew who were like really believed in libertarianism were people that were ultra rich who had never not been rich, right? Or they were people that were still young enough to think that someday they were going to be rich. And so like this was a way to like, you know, prepare for them to like for when they had millions of dollars and they wanted to hire, I guess, like endless Mexicans to work on their farm or whatever. I don't know. But ideologically, they were like, they had the same mindset as the rich people and just didn't realize that was never going to happen. But, you know, but yeah, libertarians suck. That's also part of, that's included in my My little project here. All right. Well, next up we got Gorilla Hands. Gorilla Hand says, I hate to say this, but we need a black swan event such as a pandemic, asteroid impact, or a nuclear war. This would be a selection event, and only the strongest and smartest survive. I swear to God, Cheryl, I'm going to murder you. I let him in, and now he's like, meh, I want to go outside.
Oh, why does he want to go outside? It's so hot there.
It's because I think he just realized that the sun's going down a little bit, which the temperature drops like 10 degrees when that happens. So he's like, I get to go out and kill a bunny. He is dragged. He kills full ass rabbits and drags them into the house.
Oh my God,
through a cat door. Like I have this little room that he has that's because sometimes, to keep him away from things that he might pee on.
Yeah.
And he has its little cat door. It's not like a tiny cat door, but my God, can you hear him?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can hear him. I can keep going on my end.
All right. Let me go kick him out real quick because he's not going to shut up.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
John says, Devon, please post your streams to your Substack. I will tell him. I actually did not know Devon had a Substack. Devon has a Substack? Lauren says, Devon just needs to watch Zulu again. I will report that to him. Shell Beach, if I thought that all was at stake here was America, I wouldn't care about any of this, but Devon is wrong. If the white man doesn't remember himself, then there will not be a single true-blooded European left on Earth in 100 years. That's absolutely true. I mean, don't you think it's within all of us? And I think this is what Devon is missing, that this is innate to us. Like white people want to know who we are. We're curious individuals. We're we self-actualize. We really do as a culture. That's why we have so much excellent literature and art, and we care about physical beauty. And so our desire to self-actualize it resonates with people. That's why Devon is wrong and he sucks and we all hate him.
What? I just got back. What are you guys talking about?
No, somebody says you need to watch Zulu again. That you just need to watch Zulu again. And then somebody said to put your posts on Substack.
The strings?
But you have a Substack?
Yeah, I made one because I was going to, and actually I actually have something I could post there now. But I was writing something. Look, I'll just tell you what. I was writing something that was going to actually start as a Substack post that ended up, it's a book now. And so it's literally a book that details it's a nonfiction book. It talks about the demographic decline in the United States. It talks about a firm definition of what white should mean in the American context. If we're going to be white nationalists, you can't just be like, well, this is, maybe he looks kind of white or whatever. It's like, you have to define it. You have to say what it is. And no one ever does. So I was like, here's a definition of what it is, and here's a defense for why this is what it is. I also talk about, homogeneous societies and how, the benefits in terms of like actual output and creativity and social, the working title is Why White, a Purity Spiraler's Handbook. And so that I'm almost done with it. And I can't wait to be done with it because it's very blackpilling to research.
How long have you been working on this?
For a few months. And it like I said, it started out, I wanted to write an article on Substack that was to make the case of why something that I imagined a normie white who is sympathetic, kind of like the people we were talking about, like if we could turn, each person turn 5 people white nationalists. Someone that's sympathetic to hearing about why it's important to not just be a civic nationalist, that actually care about the racial component. And I wanted to appeal to a person like that, write an article that was not like, because Hitler's cool or, just like actually have like real pragmatic, fact-based reasons why race matters in a way that would make sense. and it just turned into like, I mean, it's like 40,000 words now. So it's not like some massive book, but it's, it's a handbook. It's a Purity Spiraler's handbook.
Do you know what we love about you, Devon, as your fans? You're not my colleague. I'm just your fan. You do things so completely, partially because I think you might be undiagnosed autistic. But when you start something, you finish it, and it has to be done correctly. And it's just the greatest.
It's actually pure mental torture if you have it though. just like it's never done. It's not done. No, it's not done. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. But no, that's kind of how it started. Cause like I wrote it the more I'd be like, but what about this aspect? But I have to explain this, but I have to explain this. I haven't talked about this yet. And and in fact, it just keeps getting, in fact, I was going to have just a quick chapter that is now the longest chapter that was going to talk about, how the founding fathers meant it as like a country for white people and lay out why, and then what happened, like what went wrong. But then that's why I got so blackpilled, is that's the one the chapter that is the closest to complete is also the longest one by like a lot. And it's because it's just like this fucking parade of obscenity, like a parade of demographic obscenity of just,
it needed to be done then.
Well, no. And that's the thing is, I think that if you're an American that thinks like, oh, we can just vote for, JD or something like that, and he'll throw the Mexicans or whatever, whoever you think's going to fix it. I think once you read that chapter, even you'll just be like, holy shit, like how the fuck, like because as I was researching it, I already knew some of this stuff. I mean, look what I do for a living, but there's some of this stuff where I'm just like, God damn, really? They did what? God damn it.
Why?
Yeah. And then like I said, I talk about, also just like some of the mental hangups that white people have and the psychological reasons for it. Because like I said, I want like a normal white person to be able to read this and be like, okay, this logically makes sense. Like this has nothing to do with there's no religious, like it's religious neutral, like you could come from any background. Although I do talk, not everyone's going to like that chapter. I do talk about universalism. But I wanted it to be palatable to even, a very devout Christian. So I'm not like a dick about it. Yeah. But I do point stuff out. So yeah, it's mostly done. And so, I gotta run it through. There's a couple, and plus I got to fact check it because there's some things some of the facts I got from AI. So you always, never trust that. So
yeah,
I got to double check some of the names and dates and things like that before I send it off.
We're excited. Maybe you can publish with Antelope Hill.
No, I'll send it to them. I'll let them do it because I can't publish Amazon. They ban me. So
what? I guess I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, book 2, because that'll be that's pretty much that's very close to done too. I was in like writer's mode the last week and a half, so I've just been I haven't been able to sleep, and so I've just been writing like a psychopath until the sun comes up. So
my Lord, Devon.
But yeah, I'll shoot it over to you. You can tell me if after you read chapter 1.
Yeah, I'll do my best. After the event, I should be a lot more free. So
yeah, it's long. So yeah. Anyway, or do you still have yours, or is it me?
I'll have to reload. Go ahead.
All right, over here we got speaking of book track grooves says, Devon, let's do some debugging data exercise. Ask each type of Christian about Judges chapter 19 through 21 and Romans 8:12 through 36. see what their response is. I'm not sure what those are. Should I look that?
Me neither.
Do you know what those are?
I bet Dave Riley knows.
What is this? Should I look it up?
Yeah, I guess so.
Um,
The amount of self-discipline I have to not talk shit.
the summary is depicts the moral and social collapse of Israel during a period of the judges, illustrating the chaos that ensues when everyone did what was right in their own eyes due to the absence of a king. The narrative begins with a horrific incident in Gibeah where a Levite's concubine is raped and murdered by a mob, an event that mirrors the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah. The atrocity triggers a civil war between the tribe of Benjamin and the other Israelite tribes. Although the coalition initially suffers defeats, they ultimately destroy most of the Benjamite male population. The final chapter addresses the resulting crisis of surviving Benjamite men needing wives, leading to tribes to commit further sins, such as attacking Jabesh Gilead. I don't know. This just sounds like Harry Potter shit to me. So, all right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe do you have anything to say about that?
I don't. No.
Okay. Then we got Wonderlost says Harold Covington came to the closest on a plan to take back a portion of the U.S. via his series of fictional books on the Northwest Republic. Great read. The Hill of the Ravens being the first. I think I've heard people mention those books. Maybe I'll check them out. Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. It's not impossible. I just think because it's impossible to know what kind of black swan event it would even be. I mean, because there's so many things it could be. That really what's important is what's good for your family right now too. I mean, that's more important than trying to figure out what's going to happen in 100 years. And so what's good for your family right now is, I think, establishing a living situation where they can be around other pro-white people, and or as I've said before, raising little John Connors for when Skynet finally comes for us.
Yep.
So, all right, then we got Book Track Grooves again. Says Blonde and Devon on the race pilled. Here a better data point. How many companies is race pilled that is in normal business like bookstores, coffee shop, steel manufacturing, and farming? Hold on. You typed this a little weird, Book Track. I'm trying to let me decipher this. How many companies is race pilled that is in normal business like bookstores, coffee shops, steel manufacturing, and farming? Are you, maybe he's saying like that there's like small business owners that are race pilled. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure if that's what you're saying.
Out here, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but also he mentions manufacturing and farming, which is not race pilled because they're hiring all these Mexicans. So I'm not sure if that's what he's getting at. Yeah, look, I mean, here's the thing. Like I said, I think to some extent, some of these farmer types, they know that the Mexicans working for them are not going to be discovering the cure for cancer, or, you know what I mean? Like they look at them like children to some extent, like these are, and they have a fondness for them maybe, but if the rubber meets the road, would they want to live? They might think maybe they just don't think beyond their own personal fulfillment. And I think that's the problem too, is a lot of white people can't, I mean, because we lived in a mostly white country for so long, it's hard for them to conceive of what things will be like when we're a minority. Well, we're going to find out. Zoomers already are finding out. They already kind of know.
Yep.
Rivers of Blood says, thanks again for using my stream suggestion. Here's some shekels for your hard work. Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and always, yeah, if you've got good suggestions, as Rivers of Blood obviously did, then send them in. Send them in. All right, let's see here. Scroll. We got Love and a Vision says, what do you guys think about Save Europe Act, started by Eva Vlardingbroek? And
Yeah, I know. I don't know how to say her name.
I don't know. And Antoine Dressy, perhaps? What do you get? What do you think?
Butchered those names good. I don't know anything about this.
The Save Europe Act. Let me look up and see what it is. I like I've said, I've always thought Europe has a better chance because they don't have like centuries of demographic rape to contend with. I mean, if you go back far enough, I guess they do. It is the Save Europe Act is a European Citizens Initiative launched in late May of 2026. It's framed as the first explicitly patriotic blah, 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 blah. Immediate moratorium on non-European immigration, secure external borders, a Europe-wide system of re-immigration, removal of pull factors like welfare, access, etc., explicit recognition of the ethno-cultural continuity and identity. Well, like this, that's exactly what you need. But will anything happen with it? I doubt it. The European
I think we need more severe solutions at this point.
Right. The European Commission has already signaled it will almost certainly refuse official registration. So there you go. Yeah, that's why. I mean, it's symbolic, and is that it's not bad because it gets people talking, but it's, unfortunately, that's what I'm talking about. Is we're in a situation where the elite is working against us, and that's a problem. That's a problem. All right. But thank you very much, Love and a Vision. Then we got Drawfwork says, ironically, it's getting to know about other cultures empirically that make me racist. Yeah. Well, I think that happens to some people. But you know what's weird though is like I said, I feel like it's because they view them as children. Like when you see these Christian missionaries that are in some third world shithole, and it's almost like they're treating them like they're dog. Dog people that are like all like they're like always kissing their dogs and like, oh my, they're dogs. Like you see these Christian missionaries with the third world people, and they're kind of like, that's like the attitude, right? Like, oh, look at this. Oh, look, watch, give him a can of soda. Watch. He doesn't know. He thinks it's like a fruit or something. Like have you ever seen that? Like that they act like they're fucking pets. So, and I feel like they have affection for them like that. And I don't know what you do with that. Drawfwork says, oh no, I just did that one. Then we got Simbi. Simbi says, Love and a Vision suggested that whites need a virtual white nation. To that I say, join my Minecraft server and build it up. Let's go. All right. Simbi's got a Minecraft server. And he's got a, was it a Doom mod or a Wolfenstein mod? He's got, it might be a Wolfenstein mod where you get to play as the good guys. Then we got Paulo Eagleton says, white solidarity is what we need. Definitely. Yeah, that's honestly, that's what I see as part of my job, is to get white people to understand that if it's not about race, then what are we even doing? Like, what are we even mad about? Let's just all become IQ supremacist libertarians. Ripping Mad says, June just turned in. Did you guys remember to do the ad read this time?
We did.
I think you forgot last time. Yes, we did. No, Night Train says the fate of the white race rests on Rebecca's public speaking. Don't blow it. If you do blow it, then the white race will cease to exist, and all of your children will be damned to a hellstorm of... I'm making all this part up. But he did say that first part about it, the fate of the white race.
Oh my God.
It's if you even so much as mess up the pronunciation of a word or someone's name, yeah, not a good thing for white people. Professor Chaos says Operation Spicks in the Pit. I kind of like that. What about like trying to think of something good. I feel like it has to have something about it has to imply that there's machinery involved.
Yeah.
So some kind of like massive conveyor belt that leads to fire. I don't know. I got nothing. People in chat can think of something good. All right, then we got Tomahawk says, I would argue that Christianity was a net positive when we had homogeneous societies. Quote, love your neighbor as yourself, end quote. It stops working when it includes all nuns. Well, that's kind of what my observation is when your neighbor's a illegal immigrant, it becomes problematic. Mike Hawk 420 Blazin says, we need to utilize roof holes for the undesirables more often.
Agreed.
I think our immigration plan should involve roof holes. All right. Then we got Droffwork says, Rebecca, I apologize about my number of beast joke. It wasn't directed towards you. The world is a better place with you on it. No creepiness or simping intended. Yes, you are beautiful.
I don't know what you're talking about though. So I wasn't offended.
The beast thing?
Yeah. I don't know.
666. All right. Then we got scroll. Oh, we got another is this the same one?
Did he send it twice? It came up twice on my end too.
It might just Rumble just sometimes shows it twice. It doesn't mean that it's but just in case, Herp Derp, just be aware. It says you sent it twice here because that is the same.
So if you get charged, just let us know and we'll send it back.
Well, they usually Rumble can do it too. They usually do it pretty easy, from what I understand.
Okay.
But I think it's a glitch in how it displays it.
Okay, good.
But just in case, Herp Derp, heads up. All right, then we got. I think that's it. You got any more?
I do. Let me reload really quick. Okay, we have. Let's see. Dan D says, what do you recommend if I do identify with white heritage but wouldn't pass the purity test? I have a little immigration in my past, but mostly European. You look great, Rebecca. Well, if it's mostly European, it's fine.
Well, it depends on what you mean by mostly. What are we talking mostly?
Yeah, really.
Like, 60% is mostly, but that's not why. Look, here's the thing. First of all, we need to have a standard. There needs to exist a standard of what white means, and it can't be this loosey-goosey thing. And will it exclude good people who identify as white? Absolutely. Any definition short of zero, that'll be the case, And so if you're trying to preserve a genetic group, then you need to have that genetic makeup as how you define that genetic group. Otherwise, what are you doing? Are we trying to preserve white country songs? We're trying to preserve the white race. And so necessarily there are going to be people who don't fall under any definition that you come up with. And does that mean that we're going to burn you at the stake or throw you in a pit or whatever, or even give you shit? I mean, maybe
Yes.
we might give you a little shit, but look, realistically speaking, it's not like we're going to have some white ethno state where we're going to be in any position to throw you out anyway. But if we want to have be white nationalists with a clear definition of white, what white is, some people are going to be excluded, and not everyone's going to like it. But that's the problem. Is it's like, think of it this way, because I don't think you would argue with this. If you wanted to have, and one of the reasons why we don't in the United States anymore, if you wanted to maintain a white supermajority, then you would have to put a number to it. And because we didn't put a number to it, it was always just whatever you could argue was pragmatic in the moment. And so now we're going to be less than 50. Well, we basically are less than 50% in our own country. And it happened relatively quickly. Why? Because we didn't put a number to it. We didn't say somewhere in the Constitution or elsewhere, the country must maintain a demographic, let's just say 90%. It had to be, it's hard coded. If we hit the number 90%, all immigration has to stop because it constitutionally protected amount. Does that mean that everyone that would have come in otherwise would have been bad? No, but it doesn't matter. In order to preserve that 90%, that number has to exist. And so, that's just the way it is. And so if you have, ancestry that's not white, then you just don't fit in the category of what we're preserving, quite frankly. And I'm not saying that to be a dick, that's part of your story, but it doesn't matter. Like if you want to preserve, if you were a dog breeder and you were preserving a specific breed, and then let's just say you bred Chihuahuas, and then you had a Chihuahua that was like half German Shepherd, or I don't know how that would happen, but in fact, that'd be kind of a crazy dog. But as crazy as that dog would be, you wouldn't want to let it in the kennel with all the other ones, because here's the problem. Not only does that genetic characteristic exist in that individual, the genetics of that dog, if you let it in the kennel, would then persist for every generation afterwards. And so you wouldn't just be diluting the population in terms of now there's a dog in the kennel that's not a Chihuahua. You would be diluting the genetics of every generation of Chihuahuas that followed. And in that, you do that enough times, then no one's white. And it literally becomes that episode of South Park when the people come from the future, all this weird kind of brown color. So if you want to ensure that white people still exist in a 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, then you have to define what white is and stick to that standard. And so that's when people get mad at purity spiraling, it's like, you don't actually want to preserve white people is what you're saying. And you're kind of demonstrating why we need to draw the line. Because as much as you might be sympathetic, you are more concerned about your own interest, your racial interest.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just look, I'm not trying to be a dick, but you are demonstrating the fact that you are more concerned about your own biological racial interest than you are of actual white people. Because even though your genetics will alter white people, you won't just be like, oh, that sucks. It sucks for me. You want to change the whole standard so that it includes you. And we can't do that. And again, it's not set out of hate. It's not set out of like, I'm better than you or anything like that. But that's just the way it is. I want to preserve that actual genetic group. And so that's like in the book that I was talking about earlier, like I define what a minimum standard would look like in America, what's realistic, because obviously in America, you couldn't, well, even within Europe, no one's like 100% really anything, right? There's always genetic variation even within populations. And so, there's still got to be a line drawn. And I think people will like what I came up with, because it's not too harsh, but it's not too lenient either.
Live chat says, Devon, we're breeding German Shepherds and trying to keep the Chihuahua DNA out.
Yes.
That's right.
I guess I went the other way around with that. That's true. That is true.
let's see. Lore Fair says, I don't turn the podcast volume down when I roll down the car window. That's a start. He also says, extra black pill, the average body fat of American men is 30%, and for women, it's 40%. Good Lord.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm down to 21%. 21%. I feel terrible. I feel like shit all the time. Let's see. Dan D. Dan, we just answered your question. You sent this twice. Sorry, Dan. Sent me an email. I'll send that money back. Tuffy Banana Big Dono. Don't feel insecure, blonde. You're loved by more people than you'll ever know. I'd be at your New York City event if I wasn't money maxing as a contract road warrior. Thank you so much. Thank you. I get by on the compliments. That's what fuels me because I don't eat anything anymore. FR33. No, thank you. Paladin also says for awesome weight loss benefits, I recommend Rucksack into the Oldies. Maybe Devon can get you a copy of the DVD.
That's a joke.
What is
but yeah,
this?
rucksacking?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. It like camping?
No, it's like you get a rucksack. Well, if you want to be hardcore, do at least 50 pounds on it, and then go hike up a mountain, or whatever, ruck march. I don't do 50 pounds, but I'll go into the desert with my rucksack from time to time. I'll even camp out there. Not this. Well, actually, this time of year would probably be kind of nice, but there's so many snakes and shit out this time of year.
Nope, that sounds no, absolutely not. Under no circumstances am I doing that. I'm going to keep going to my Pure Barre class where all the women are impeccably groomed, wearing full makeup and $300 of workout clothes and their engagement rings, and that is where I'm going to work out. It's the most competitive workout environment that exists in the world. I'm convinced.
They're all trying to get skinny for their wedding or something, or.
No, we just compete with each other. It's just, you can't quit because there's a bunch of other women there that are hotter than you.
And they're all like looking at you. They're all like,
yeah. You face the mirror. There are mirrors in the front and the side, so you can really see your body at all angles. It's a fucking nightmare. It's terrible.
Sounds like some kind of weird Black Mirror episode.
VTubing enthusiast says, Dan, the Rope Book 2 and Devon's Declassified Demographic Survival Guide the same year. Hell yeah. Thanks, guys, for keeping me sane in these crazy times. Rebecca, you're going to do great at the New York City event. Thank you so much. I think I'm good over here.
All right, we got X-Field Marshall says, you'll be fine, Rebecca. If not, we'll have something to poke fun at you when you stuff up.
No.
You're going to blow up like a balloon? Book Track Groove says, Devon, it's worth trying to ask on those passages. Blonde, I got some research photos that might help. DM me if interested.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm not sure what the passages, or he's the one that sent the Bible passage earlier, but I'm still not sure what the context is. I'll look up. Maybe I'll look at the actual wording of the verses themselves. Then Rocco D2 says, thanks for the stream. I don't want to defend a beaner, but the reason the left turned on Cesar Chavez and called him a rapist 75 years after the fact is because anti-illegal immigration. Well, that's the thing is a lot of people don't realize this. Pretty much all labor, obviously, it makes sense, but all labor unions were anti-immigration because of the obvious reasons that it drives wages down. And it makes it so labor unions have no power because they'll just their strikes will be busted up by the illegal immigrants on like Cesar Chavez was discussing. In fact, Bernie Sanders, of all people, used to be very tough on immigration. Rocco D2 says, I remember hearing you say Irish were barely white. Break that down. Did I hear you wrong? Well, look,
mostly in jest. I did procreate with a German-Irish man, which I do consider an intermarriage. No, I'm just joking. I love the Irish. But they did cause major problems in America when they came here. Huge problems, as was demonstrated in our last stream, or the stream before that. One of our streams.
Right, but genetically, well, not all of them, but genetically, they cluster very close to the founding stock Americans. The religion was quite foreign, and the culture was radically different. So those were the big issues that will never be 100% resolved, because anything like that, anytime you dump, hundreds of thousands of anybody into any population, even if they're genetically similar, you're going to leave a mark. Like there's obviously Irish, fingerprints now on the squeaky clean sliding glass door of America, right? They got little grubby little fucking finger marks all over it now, but and that's probably where jack-o'-lanterns came from, and maybe some other weird shit. But no, but like, I look, the contrast between the Irish needing a few decades to at least somewhat settle down and not, because that level of criminality to not persist forever like it has with blacks. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's the point, is that like with the closer you are genetically, you can come to an equilibrium at some point. But the further apart you are genetically, the less likely that it will ever happen. And so even with the Irish, there was a difficulty, but we were able to more or less overcome it because of the genetic closeness. All right. And which, by the way, that's also explained in the book. In fact, I posted a tiny piece of that book in response to Zoomer Historian, who was literally talking about that the other day. And I happen to have just finished that part of that chapter talking about the Irish versus black people. And so I was like, patah, screenshot post. So some of you guys saw that on Twitter. That's what, if you saw that, that's what it is. It's so almost done. It needs some heavy editing and fact checking, but like the structure's all there. The meat is there. All right. I think we're all done over here.
I am also done over here. Thank you guys so much for joining us and your generosity tonight. We really appreciate it. We will be back next Wednesday for a new installment of Outlaws.
Right. Make sure you tune in on Saturday, 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific time for another episode of the Insomnia Stream. In the meantime, everybody have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.